Test, 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 test. Hello, hello. Hope everybody is doing well tonight. Let me make sure I am actually fully connected here. Looks like I am, but just to be sure. Okay, looks like it's coming through. Hey, hope everybody is doing well. Good to see you, Saria. Good to see you, Darth Magog. I hope you guys have had a great week, and if you celebrated or took some time off for the weekend, for the holiday or whatnot, I hope that that was pleasant and relaxing for you. I myself have been mostly chill. We did have a family member come to visit who unfortunately has some political beliefs that are not super friendly, but somehow we were able to get through the vast majority of the holiday without any tension. And honestly, any of the tension was coming from me because I was being a little standoffish. I didn't really want to, I was very wary of getting into any kind of political discussions. So I kind of just kept my distance. Maybe I was a little unfriendly. I hope not. But overall, yeah, it was quite nice. For the most part, got a few days off of work, and I've just been chilling. Been playing some Halls of Torment. Went back and played some Dark Souls 3. I'm thoroughly impressed with the level design of early Dark Souls 3. It is something I'd love to talk about um, on stream at some point, like how each of the Souls games handles its like tutorial and intro levels. And Dark Souls 3 is just phenomenal. I absolutely adore the progression from you know, the High Wall of Lothric down into the Undead Settlement. It's fucking awesome. Other than that, Naruto wise, so this stream is going to be, I think, probably the last Universal Naruto stream and the last like big topic stream that I do for a while. I think the next weekend, before the end of the year, I'd like to finish the Naruto versus Pain stuff because we went through all the preamble, talked about like Konohamaru and stuff like that, but we didn't actually get to talking much about the actual Naruto versus Pain fight, and I still see people like with some significant misunderstandings about the paths and about how that fight went down and Naruto's advantages and stuff like that. So I want to do one more of those. But then I think going into the new year, I kind of reached a place where I've talked about all of the big stuff that I wanted to. Like when I started streaming about a year ago, I wanted to talk about, some of the Noodles content and like mention the debate that I had, talk about the debate with Weeaboo Warrior. And then it kind of grew from there where we were talking about various topics that came up and just addressing things that I think had some misunderstandings. So I want to keep doing that. I want to keep having the streams, but I think as you've seen, like I try to put in quite a bit of research and effort into putting these streams together, and I haven't really had time to, focus much on like making shorts or making videos. So I think I might take a step back, keep the streams a little bit more chill in the next year until somebody basically requests like, hey, go ahead and respond to this debate, please, or go ahead and do a deep dive on this character, or something like that. That way we can keep the kind of like fun hangout streams going, but I can also start to put out some other forms of content without without losing my mind. But that being said, I'm really grateful to everybody who has stopped by and or stuck around and who's just been curious enough to even check out a video um, over the past 6 weeks or so, or just in general. Any form of engagement is seriously appreciated. I hope this comes across with the work that I do, but I really enjoy doing this stuff, even when I get kind of pissy and when I get antsy or whatever. I enjoy it. I enjoy getting worked up about this shit because I'm passionate about it, and none of it would matter if it was just in an echo chamber and I didn't get to share it with anybody. So, shout out to everybody who's been encouraging and participating, even people who've challenged me or disagreed with me. I think this year, as we're kind of coming to the close of the year, has been really positive overall. And I'm grateful for getting the chance to share some of this stuff with you guys. So that being said, tonight, what are we going to do? A little bit of a different stream from usual in that usually I will have a laser focus on one particular topic and I'll spend a long time focusing on that. I want to try and cast a bit of a broader net tonight. Um, Over the past week, rather than, say, doing a deep dive into like uh, I don't know, the size of the planet based on the novels, or trying to do my best to like feebly understand string theory or whatever, and then try to regurgitate that knowledge for you guys. Um, this time I want to go over and check out um, a bunch of different videos in short snippets. So I've queued up a whole bunch of different Naruto Universal topics and videos and stuff here, and I basically just want to what I tried to challenge myself to do over the past week or so is to listen to a bunch of different people's takes, really try to listen to the arguments and try to identify not just like areas for debunking, like, oh, I think this is stupid or this is wrong, or whatever, like not try to approach it that way, but instead to be like, well, what are the common sources of misunderstanding? What are the common mistakes from my perspective? Where is the confusion coming from, and is there a common thread that underlies multiple people's perspective? I can rant and rave about noodles for a month, but at the end of the day, if he's just one person who happens to have some bad takes, then it's like, okay, well, my personal vendetta is satisfied or whatever. But how does that actually reflect? Like, are people actually talking about that in that way? Are people actually using those arguments? And so I wanted to see, whether or not that was the case. And tonight, what we're going to be doing is looking at, well, my intention is this. Maybe we won't get around to it. We'll see. My intention is to try to go through a bunch of videos in short segments. And some of those videos we're going to be jumping around a lot. Some of those videos we're going to be watching at faster speeds, like 1.2, 1.5. So I want to offer a massive disclaimer before we even start. Anything that I talk about tonight, please, tonight more than any other stream, make sure to go and watch the videos in context. Of course, I will show the name of the channel and everything and shout out the creator. But especially since we're going to be talking about like plagiarism and citing your sources, or citing your sources, I guess would be appropriate, a little bit tonight. And especially since, I am going to be not playing the video in context in full. I'm going to be jumping around and stuff like that. For example, for Virtue's video, I'll be fully honest, I haven't even seen anything before like somewhere around here, because I just wanted to focus on the end of it. So please make sure to go watch everybody's videos in context. Watch them on the channel from the user directly. Support them if you like their content. Give a thumbs up, give a subscribe, and all that stuff. Hit the bell, smash that like button. Do whatever you got to do to show your support for those original content creators, because this is a conversation, at least to me. It's a parasocial conversation. I guess it's like a long distance conversation, a very odd form of conversation, but like, to me, what appeals to me about this is that like pseudo dialogue. It's that pseudo like, well, this person said something, let's think about it, let's figure out how to respond, and then let's send that back out there, and then maybe they'll respond, and vice versa, right? So got a bunch of stuff to go over. Got around a 3.5 hour most time limit, so we'll just kind of play it by ear. We're going to kind of take things at a chill pace, catch up, we can chat a bit, and then just jump around and see if we can notice some trends, if we can notice some general things that we can potentially clear up, or even just like notice where everybody's mind is at with this topic. Because out of most of the, probably out of any other topic in the Naruto verse, this is the one that I think brings the worst out of people, funny enough. If there is any topic that I'd want to debate somebody on, it would probably be this or just like Lightspeed Naruto, or more specifically like data book validity, because I think if you can recognize the problems with multiversal or universal Naruto arguments, you can then apply that learning to pretty much any of the other things I've disagreed with people on. Like, I don't have a problem if you think, if I'm like arguing Jiraiya over Orochimaru, and you come back at me and you have strong arguments for Orochimaru, I'm not going to be upset about it, right? Those kinds of matchups. Tobirama versus Minato is a good one. I don't really care. Like, I think there's strong arguments on either side. I think I can feel like I won the argument, but still, respect whatever my opponent thinks is correct, as long as they're arguing in good faith, because it's open to interpretation. There's reasonable arguments, and we're probably not going to agree on everything. But the stuff with Naruto, like Universal Naruto, some of this stuff is just embarrassing, if I'm honest. Like, I'm not trying to be mean, but like, I really have tried to listen. I probably listened to like 20 different videos, some new, some old, this past week, and it's just, we're in kind of an embarrassing, awkward place right now. And I did my best to try to understand that, and we can see how everybody feels about it. But yeah, if I'm gonna debate anything, I think this would be the area to try to clear up misconceptions. So we'll see if anything like that ever happens. But let me pause my rant really quick. I see we got we got Saria and Darth Magog in chat. I welcome you again to my to my ramble session. Hope you guys are doing well. Let's see. So Saria starts off with a traditional ritualistic cleansing of the hands and boxing of the cats as usual. Magog says, "I knew that we'd have one more." Yeah, there had to be at least one more. I think I could keep pressing the issue. Like I could keep being like, okay, today we're gonna debunk virtue. Tomorrow we're gonna debunk six. But I don't really. I kind of more want to focus on the general arguments, and then once I've stated my case, so to speak, I don't necessarily want to just like drive it into the ground. So and just like drag it out forever and ever. Maybe it feels like that already because I think we did 4 or 5 episodes on noodles, and now we're up to 6 on this. So maybe it already feels dragged out. But I'm getting to the point where it's like, okay, I think I kind of said what I wanted to say, and probably move on to something else next week. And sorry, obviously, your order pizza for the premiere. Oh man, so I think we talked a little bit about the Plinkett reviews, right? My I had a tradition where anytime Plinkett would come out with a review, I would order like a few pizzas and basically just like book out the back room of the office that I worked in at the time, and it was basically like a little theater, and just like encourage people to come and watch them because I always get super excited when they came out. So I have like a little Star Wars pizza premiere tradition that is in my in my little micro family. So yeah, please, if I can do anything that ever encourages people to luxuriate in pizza, which is objectively the best food, I feel like I've accomplished something with my stream and with my time. So please indulge, gorge yourself, as they say in in Invader Zim, if you've ever seen that. Thank you so much for turning on the noti, by the way. That's in and of itself quite the compliment. Um, I think I left a comment, but yeah, I was watching or listening to your video on the like 10 weirdest Bible stories or whatnot, and I am like, I should know this. I should not be surprised by this stuff anymore. But like the reminder, sometimes it's useful to have a reminder of just how crazy things get in the Bible with biblical stories, and how hard people have to kind of work to justify some of the stuff that happens. Or rather, I guess I don't want to put words in people's mouth, and don't want to start like a whole religious debate or anything like that. But like, I think it's easy to forget just how dire some of the stories get, because they just don't get that mentioned that often or get that much of a spotlight, for probably for obvious reasons. So it's useful, I think, to remind people of that, and it's useful to have videos like that as a resource to kind of serve as you know touch points. Is that the right term for it? For like collections of arguments that people can reference and talk about. I have another video of yours, I think from a couple of years ago, on a Bible story saved up in my timeline. So I'm sure I sound like a broken record at this point, but kudos for all the hard work bringing out the new content. I'm enjoying it. My partner's enjoying it, and we're gonna keep enjoying it as it comes out. No pressure or anything, but it's definitely been eye opening, and it's been like a very helpful, positive in a way, reminder of the lore that we should keep in mind, if that makes sense. Um, Saria says, Darth, I had went to aid my sister to be a good baby sister or something like that. Whatever that might mean. I hope your sister's doing well. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you now have access to an easy way of getting in and out of your house without getting trapped. I'd love to know how that whole saga resolved itself. It was amazing. But yeah, I hope everybody's doing well on your end. Sorry, I hope you're feeling good with your back and it's less kerfuckled and all that. Happy to see you both here this evening. Saria says our horses had another baby. Oh, congratulations! That's wonderful. I named her Spenza Nightshade. That's a beautiful name. After the protagonist from the Skyward novel series. She's my one true favorite child now. Well, congratulations. But I won't say that in front of the other horses. That's very out loud. That's very kind of you. Yeah, just say it in semaphore. You can have your own like secret hand/hoof shake. With Spensa. But welcome to the world, Spensa Nightshade. I hope that she is doing yes, she said that she is doing quite well and is comfortable and not too cold and everything. Shout out to, or like, I'm sure you're probably aware of this already, Saria, but next Saturday, or this coming Saturday rather, December 6th, I think, is the Game Awards, which I'm just calling the fucking Claire Obscure kicking everybody's asses right off the stage show. So, be sure to tune in if you're in the mood for that sort of thing. I think it's live streamed I probably won't be around this Saturday, but I usually do. Actually, that might be a fun idea for a stream. Is just to like stream my reactions to it live. So I might do that next weekend, actually. In which case, I might skip the Sunday stream, do a Saturday stream instead, and then do something else on Sunday. Okay, yeah, I'll give that some thought. Usually I do it with my partner, but lately she hasn't been like as into it. So, that could actually be a really fun way to kind of talk about the state of the industry and just do like a gaming catch up stream, especially since I hope to finish Clair Obscure this Thursday. But yeah, congratulations on the new arrival. I hope the other animals are doing well as well. Oh, you're not late, Darth Magog. We're still kind of just getting started. We always spend the first hour or so just chatting and keeping things chill. And honestly, I kind of expect that it's not going to be very busy tonight, so to speak, because I think probably folks are still, in the States anyway, are still on holiday. So I think, we're just going to kind of take our time and enjoy things in a low key way. If people need or want to kind of stop in and then leave or just check out a small part of the stream, it's totally fine. As always, the VODs are going to be left up indefinitely. And, I'm more than happy to continue the discussion on Discord or something else if there's anything you want to follow up on. But yeah, no pressure ever. Always happy to see you. It's always a pleasure, but never comes with any sort of obligation whatsoever. Oh yeah, and Maisel and the new foal. Yes, that's very delightful as well. Yeah, from everything I have heard, you are a very supportive sister and family member, Saria. Hope that doesn't sound awkward. I mean, I don't know you personally, but everything you've taught me about how you support and are patient with your family, seems like really, like you're a really like caring and sensitive person in that regard. So I hope that I would probably agree with Darth Magog based on what you've shared, and hope that you accept that about yourself as well. I know it can be discouraging, or like not discouraging, but sometimes frustrating when a lot of family stuff gets thrown at you. But you seem to have a real knack for dealing that into being a supportive family member. So kudos to you, especially in this holiday season. It's the spirit of the season after all. Saria said the handyman climbed through the window and he was like, well, how'd you folks manage this? And he had to take the lock off completely and get us a new one. Well, that's quite the holiday story. For sure. That's one for the that's one to tell the grandkids perhaps. Though that must have been this T-Day story today. Yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, I'm sure. Hopefully, it's one of those things that you look back on later and you're like, wow, that was super stressful. But in retrospect, it's kind of funny. Over the summer, I went on like a bunch of. I think I mentioned before I have this book club, and basically like there's 20 or so of us, and we all read a book once a month, and then we get on Zoom and we just have a chat about it. But once a year we will meet up someplace. Like we got an Airbnb, which is like this ski lodge or something. I don't even know what it was. It's like a big building with a bunch of different rooms in it, and people like brought their plus ones and family members and kids and stuff. And we basically just had like a big, big grown up, tired, in bed by 8 p.m. because everyone's exhausted sleepover. And like one of the first things that happened was that one of the kids like immediately got herself like locked in a room and then started freaking out, and we couldn't get her out, and we couldn't find the supervisor, and it was starting to get dark, and we didn't know like if we want to break down the door because we didn't want to hurt the kid if she was on the other side of the door and stuff, and it was all like everybody was freaking out. But the moment it resolved, you could feel all the tension kind of like rushing out of the room, and everybody was just like so happy. And now we look back on that and we joke about it. At least I do. It wasn't my kid, so maybe it's less stressful for me. But I hope that there's something similar for you where you're able to get like a funny story out of it. And yeah, thank you to everybody, and happy holidays and all that. Sorry, it says my dad was trying so hard to explain that all he did was try to unlock the door, and then we literally couldn't get outside, and the handyman had this is so bizarre face. Yeah. What alternate universe have I walked into where people don't know how to open doors? It's beautiful. Well, that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get started with some reactions here. But of course, feel free to chime in. I'd love to know what you guys are up to. And if you've like seen any good movies or watched any or played any video games, or you have any plans to catch up on media over the holidays, I'm definitely gonna be checking out Metroid Prime 4 if I can get my hands on a Switch. And like I said, I've been playing some Dark Souls 3 and Halls of Torment, and Halls of Torment is probably my favorite vampires, survivors, or survivors like, or whatever you call that, like that genre, action roguelike, I guess. Um, I've also been hearing a lot of really good things about Dispatch. It doesn't really seem to be my style of game, but given that it's gotten so many like such high praise from publications and folks that I respect their opinions. I think it might be worth checking out if you like superhero stuff. If you like those old like Telltale style adventure games with a heavy emphasis on narrative and characters, it looks good. It seems extremely horny. Like it seems extremely like has been hotel adjacent in terms of the overall vibe and just like through the roof level of horniness. So I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. It might be a little much for me in the like smarm and charm regard, but that being said, I think it's worth a shot, and I would recommend that people check it out because it's been getting a lot of buzz. Also, apparently, Mega Bonk. So Mega Bonk is fucking weird. I played a little bit of it, and I didn't really get the appeal. Like I was impressed that I think it was a one person team, and I was impressed with the work that they had done. But then I got to the boss that had a name that I found extremely offensive. I'm sure you've heard of like the terms bussy and stuff like that. And then the trend to put like ussy at the end of anything that is potentially there's no unawkward way to say this, but if you put ussy on the end of something, you're implying a certain potential relationship between yourself and that thing. And then I come across this boss who's like this menacing, roaring scorpion that fires lasers and summons meteors. And the name of the boss, of course, was Scorpionussy. And I just couldn't abide by that. I couldn't deal with that because, as anyone worth their salt, any mature, reasonable human being would tell you, it's an incredibly egregious missed opportunity. It should have just been Scorpussy, but they had to go with Scorpionussy and ruin the whole pun. So I immediately uninstalled it, and I haven't gone back yet. But hey, if botched bussy puns don't turn you off, welcome to my Naruto stream, by the way. Then feel free to check it out because apparently everybody loves it, and I think that it's apparently gotten nominated for some awards. Like somebody from Claire Obscure was like talking about it and being like, "This is one of the few games that I think could potentially unseat us or something, unseat us from our throne." So check it out. Those are my recommendations. I'm gonna try and get into the habit of recommending more stuff as opposed to just being like, this guy said that Naruto can beat up two planets, but I only think he'd do one. Like, I try not to be such an ass all the time, because ultimately that's what it's about, right? Just sharing mutual interest stuff. Saria says I managed to finish my TBR list. Okay, I am going to go ahead and say congratulations. I'm proud of you and happy for you. And now I am going to ask what a TBR list is and apologize for not remembering it because I feel like you mentioned it before, but I have no idea what you're talking about, but it sounds great, so congratulations. And I'm just going to nod my head over here. You can't see it, but I'm nodding and pretending like I know what you're talking about. Megog says, OC, do not steal. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's interesting because, like, there's a lot of humor in indie games in particular, and weirdly enough, like, I got obsessed with the Vampire Survivors like genre for a while, and I had a video that I was working on that was a tier list of like 20 or 30 games, and I've noticed that there is a tendency towards a lot of referential humor, and I mean like, you probably remember All Your Base, right? Like, it's basically not even like a pun or not even something that's sort of cleverly worked in, but you'll just like you'll have an achievement for like entering a building, and then the achievement will say like all your base I mean building are belong to us, or something like that, right? Like, or you'll beat a boss and the boss like explodes, like it bulges up and explodes, and you get an achievement that says, ooh, what's this? Notices bulge, and I'm like, okay, like, yes, I get the reference, I see, but it's like a very odd kind of almost insular form of humor that pervades those games. That's very particular. I think some people will absolutely love it, like when you unlock a robot character and the robot character says OMG 10 elite hacksaws. Some people are going to think that's the funniest shit in the world. I personally don't love it, but I think maybe that's like, not to slander or anything, I think that's maybe part of the charm, is like getting back to that particular style of humor. I was actually just watching. I'm gonna date myself here, but like Joe Cartoon, if you guys remember fucking Joe Cartoon from back in the day, I was reacquainting myself with like that era of Newgrounds and Shockwave and fucking Camp Chaos and Albino Black Sheep and all that shit. Kind of nostalgic. Anyway, oh, your to be read list. Okay, excellent. Sorry, I didn't understand. Um, that's great. Congratulations. Hopefully you will. Do you want to share like what your how can I phrase it? Was there a book on your list that you weren't expecting to like but really did like, or vice versa? I'd be curious if you had any surprises. My partner and I listened to the audiobook for uh all the names of the silent things or something. Hang on, let me look it up. A name for every silent thing. What's the guy's name? Patrick Rothfuss. Silent things. The slow regard of silent things. And I haven't read the King Killer Chronicles or Name of the Wind or whatnot, although it's been highly recommended to me. So I didn't have the context for this book, and it is one of the strangest books that I've ever read, especially lacking that context. Not to mention that it is extremely explicitly and thoroughly not my style, and I actually was pretty miserable listening through the audiobook. Like, I really didn't enjoy it, but since then, weirdly enough, I keep like referencing it and talking about it and sharing it with people, and I realized I sort of like subconsciously became a fan. I have no idea why, because I have no pleasant, like very few pleasant memories of actually listening to the book itself, but since then I keep thinking about it and keep talking about it. I'm like, wow, I can really relate to this character. I can really relate to this world, and I found so many parts of it so weirdly validating, and I keep referencing it and shit. So it has a very bizarre kind of like hypnotic quality to it, and it's only like 4 hours long. So if you want like a very unique fantasy experience, I would highly recommend it. And then my partner shared with me shit, I forget the name of the book. It's a Russian duo of authors, the same people who wrote Roadside Picnic, and it's a book talking about like magical science. And I couldn't really quite follow it. It was a little too zany for my taste, I suppose, but also very interesting. I think it will be some people's absolutely number one favorite book because of how just quirky, zany, and unique it is. So maybe check that out too. Darth Magog says, honestly, I didn't think I'd like Andromeda. Oh, Andromeda Strain. Yeah. After Sphere and Congo, but it was pretty good. Yeah, I have pleasant memories of that book. I haven't read it in a long time, but I remember enjoying that. That's a good pick. Sorry, I said I didn't like Interview with the Vampire. Oh, okay, cool. Though I also am not a big vampire fan. It takes very particular stories for me to like vampires because I prefer werewolves, non-lunar werewolves. Non-lunar meaning they don't transform with the full moon. They can just do so at will. Oh yeah, that's kind of cool. It's funny. In the foreword to that book about like magical science, they brought up something that are like the author of the foreword brought up something that I thought was really interesting. That most magical, like so many universes or fictional realms or whatever, or settings rather, that deal with magic also are very clear to express what the rules and limitations of that magic is. I guess comparatively speaking, there's always like this sort of attempt to kind of either control magic or focus magic or give it specific rules or specific names, whereas magic kind of inherently, at least from this person's perspective, can, maybe even should, be portrayed as more of a chaotic, nebulous, non-literal force. And so, like, I think of maybe a great example of something that's truly magical, even though it's presented in a sci-fi context, would be like the improbability drive from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That sort of chaos where there are rules, there are constraints, but it's also something that has its own logic and just kind of obeys its own rules as well, is something that magic doesn't get that treatment of very often. So, the idea that, like, okay, if you have a werewolf not in your story, you can decide kind of how to shape and sculpt their limitations, their abilities. You don't have to follow all the same rules. And not to spoil anything, but the character of Regis is probably my favorite in the Witcher books. and the way that he kind of plays with the vampire tropes and all that is really wonderful. Obviously, there are still some constraints and limitations, but they keep changing and shifting such that, like, his vampirism just becomes an extension of his person as opposed to the vampirism reinforcing and defining who he is, if that makes sense. So, yeah, that sounds really cool. I'm sorry you didn't love it, but I think it's also important to, you know, understand where your preferences lie and wherever they fall. That's totally legitimate. So, with all that being said, yeah, let me start poking away at some of this stuff. So, I did a little exercise with myself, and I tried to, how can I say, imagine what it would be like if I were in a debate and I were asked to state my position on Universal Naruto, because I wanted to see if I could identify like what I think are actually the core problems. Like what is the fundamental misunderstanding, if there is one, or if there's multiple. What are the fundamental misunderstandings that kind of underpin this whole conversation? And like I said last stream, I like to start off whenever I disagree with somebody. I like to start off by assuming, even if it's incorrect, I like to assume that any disagreements between us are just a misunderstanding or a difference in perspective. That one of us has like either just different information or came to a different conclusion or something like that. But if we manage to collaborate, we manage to communicate, we can figure that out together, and we can try to resolve it. And I like to assume and then be proven wrong that people aren't being lazy or dishonest or trying to manipulate each other. With this particular topic, I do think it's one of the worst that I've come across in the community, because to me, now that I've spent a certain amount of time on the topic, I feel like I've earned my stripes with this. I'm usually pretty hesitant to say stuff like that, and obviously there's plenty of room for me to learn, but I feel like genuinely I have spent a long time, probably too much on this topic, and I feel like if anybody knows, um, a lot about this topic, I do. Not that I'm the only one or I'm even the best one or anything like that, but I do know quite a bit, and I just genuinely, honestly, haven't seen a single convincing argument for this point. And for this perspective that Naruto characters are universal, every single argument that I've come across has a major flaw or is not put into context or has an omission or a distortion or something like that. And I know that some of the people, from my perspective anyway, who make these arguments are decent people and reasonably intelligent people, and I'd like to think sincere people. So I go into it being like, well, how do we make these mistakes? How do we get here? And then the more time I spend on this, the more cynical and bitter I find myself getting, because I kind of am running out of excuses. Like I'm running out of options for just saying like, oh, this is why this is okay. This is why this is just a misunderstanding. With people who haven't spent a lot of time on this particular topic, especially just like casual readers, watchers, or whatever, it's one thing. But like genuinely, to double down on this, if you're a content creator who makes Naruto content and you've spent like months or years on it, and you've spent like dozens or hundreds of hours on stuff like this, on this kind of scaling, and you're out here actually telling people that Naruto characters are universal, it's like embarrassing. And I'm not trying to be mean, genuinely, but I can't think of a better word to describe it. It's just so from my perspective, from what I've seen anyway, it's just so far disconnected from like a fair reading and accurate reading of the series that it boggles the mind. um, so this is going to be my attempt to make peace with that by just trying to identify what the problems are and see if there's any way to actually move forward. I don't really think so. I think this is one of those things where like people will enjoy talking about it and have a stance on it, and then it'll kind of die down. And then like in a few years later, down the line, if people are still active in the Naruto online shit, they'll look back on this and be like, oh my god, what were we all on? Like obviously this is not the case, right? Like, we've gone through various cycles of that sort of thing, of just having very strong positions that then get revealed to be maybe not so strong later, and then we just kind of go through that cycle of learning. And that's fine. I would prefer that it happen sooner than later, but it's not like keeping me up at night or anything like that. Um, I'm also trying to work through my personal disappointment with like my own naivete or expectations about sincerity from certain people, and curiosity from the community in general. But benefit of the doubt, everything I'm about to say is my opinion based on my emotional and like thoughtful experience with this, but it is kind of coming from my personal journey over the past year through this topic. So let's see. Saria says, I agree. That is my biggest gripe with most magic systems. Like, dude, leave it vague. I don't care. That's part of the fun. It's why I love the power of miracles in Saint Seiya. Yeah, I like that idea a lot. I think, I wonder if you'd like the kind of implications of the magic system in the Dark Souls lore, because some of the clearest descriptions of how magic works is basically like, it's kind of whatever you want it to be. It's kind of life force, and just kind of do whatever, man. And there's a pretty consistent theme of people trying to control it and it going horribly, horribly wrong, or just like people dedicating their entire being, their entire lives, maybe even like sacrificing their immortality to, or betraying their people or whatever, to understand the essence of magic and the essence of life, and it just doesn't work out. It refuses to be fully understood. It refuses to allow itself to be embraced, and it always remains this chaotic flowing energy. Any attempts to restrain it, restrict it, and like strictly define it, um, deliberately breed like kegare, like this form of stagnation that then leads to other horrible, horrendous things happening. So I think it's a really interesting take on it. Miracles is literally just plot armor given in universe explanation. Yeah, that's fair too. And like I guess you could define something like Gurren Lagann as a random example as technically having a magic system and technically being like sci-fi. But honestly, I know as I say this how naive it sounds, but honestly, I hope people aren't out there actually like worrying too much about and arguing too much about like the like picking up and throwing galaxies as projectiles and stuff like that, and worrying too much about the physics of that. I mean, at a certain point, they just reach this tier of power where the things that they are doing are so like incredibly cosmic, literally and figuratively, in terms of how far they exceed like human boundaries, that it's much more about like the character dynamics and what they represent, as opposed to the actual like physical power output or whatever. But yeah. Darth Magog says, it's okay to be a little mean, John. Sometimes people you need hard activism, so to speak. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think at this point, like, to be honest, I guess I'm like a little frustrated because, I, for a long time, I tried to engage with people in like, how can I say this? So I don't ever want to deliberately be mean, but I also recognize that if I spend a long time trying to be nice, meaning like going out of my way to use very careful, very delicate, very gentle language, sometimes that comes across as insincere, even though I don't intend it to. Sometimes it just creates like way too many words, and it's just hard to have a productive conversation. And oftentimes it just gets ignored. Like it just goes nowhere. I can't tell you how many people I've like left a comment on, and I've said, "Hey, dude, I love your channel. I love the work that you do. I'm really impressed and inspired by the things that you're saying. I love your editing style. Your choices of music are great. But I do think that you're a little misinformed about this one thing. So here's an alternate view. Let me know what you think. I can't wait to see your next video." And the only thing they will respond to is by saying, "No, you stupid, dumb idiot. That you're just lying. You're blatantly lying. You're coping. You're crying." And they'll just like get super pissed about that one thing that I said. It's like there's just this extremely strong negativity bias filter thing where you don't even like, why would you even bother responding to people like treating you like a human being and talking to you when they're disagreeing with you on something? That means you're having a competition. You gotta shit on that right away. You gotta like stop the competition, or stomp it rather. And it's like, to me, if I make a comment like that and that's the response I get, that's an immediate, like extremely consistent litmus test for whether or not the conversation is going to be productive. Even if somebody gets heated about some of the feedback that I might leave or whatever, if they actually take the time to say thank you or appreciate you or like, hey, thanks for the good stuff or whatever, then there's some hope. But if they don't, like 100% of the time in my personal experience, if somebody has not at least acknowledged some of the positive stuff, the conversation goes nowhere. So I think I'm just kind of at a point where it's like, okay, I want to selfishly express my opinion. Like I left a lot of comments this week on various videos, a lot of long ass comments that I don't know if anybody's ever going to read. It was entirely selfish. It's just like, I want to get these thoughts out on paper. I want to post them publicly. Maybe somebody will get something out of them. Maybe they won't. At the end of the day, it's entirely self-serving because I just have fun doing it. Although I do hope that somebody will get something out of it. But moving on from there, like I don't expect any kind of response one way or another. If I do get it, I'll be very grateful. But at this point, I also understand that apparently I'm kind of like stepping in the shit, so to speak, in that there is already an ongoing conversation that's quite heated that I'm kind of like tripping and falling face first into, and so I'm excuse me, I got a bit of a cold. Um, Kind of inheriting all that bullshit when I wade into the pool, so to speak. So anyway, I feel like I'm rambling a little, so I'll probably try to focus on the video responses in a second. But I appreciate the encouragement. I think I can be pretty um like hesitant to and like genuinely speaking, like I never ever actively want to say something that makes somebody feel bad. Like, I strongly dislike noodles. You know that I have problems with Seth. You know that I have. At this point, just fair to say that I don't like Sage's persona. I don't know about him as a person, but like, I find the way that he presents his information, the way that he engages with people, extremely frustrating, and I just like don't like it. But if I ever say anything that then like hurts somebody's feelings, like I don't feel good about that. I never feel good about making somebody upset. That's never an outcome that I want to achieve. But at a certain point it's like, okay, well, for the past like couple of years, I've tried to be very, very patient and polite with people that have had no hesitation or scruples whatsoever about just being extremely fucking shitty. And you know what? Like, I'm not gonna try to be mean, but I'm also going to point out where mistakes are being made. And hey, if you disagree with me and you want to hit me back and be like, "Nuh-uh, idiot, here's where you're wrong," go for it. Just actually show some evidence and like try to be productive about it. That's all I ask, because that way we can like learn from each other instead of just being at each other's fucking throats. Um, but yeah, that is not directed at you, Darth Magog. That's just, as I'm sure you understand, but just to be clear, like whenever you and I, or myself and Saria, have disagreed about something, it's always been the way that we talk is great, because like we can like sort of gently nudge each other to do better without being shitty to each other. I really genuinely appreciate that. Yeah, Saria, exactly. The whole get in VC shit. I mean, like, I understand sometimes you just want to throw a gauntlet down. I felt like saying that sometimes because I just get so frustrated seeing the same things over and over again, seeing people be shitty to each other. I'm like, I want to throw the gauntlet down and end this shit. But at the same time, yeah, you gotta. It's not really impressive, right? Like, I have to admit, when I act like I don't know if Walkie Talkie are gonna be here, but the other day I was on their stream and I was just kind of like acting like a little brat in chat because nobody was paying attention to me, and I left some like edgy comment and then left because I was like getting frustrated that I wasn't getting the attention. And at the time, it felt like, I'm expressing myself and I'm being genuine to how I'm feeling, and that's great, that's fun. But when I look back on those messages, I'm like, oh my god, did I really say that? So I try to I try to just like stay humble about that shit and not like go too crazy with it. But there is a place for shit posting. Just you just got to be careful about. Understand that you never know when somebody reads that shit, like what kind of a day they're having, what kind of a mood they're going to be in, and how it might affect them. So try to err on the side of not being a total douche. But yeah, the occasional shit post can be cathartic for everyone, I think, and hope. Saria says, yeah, that's basically how Force works in Zelda. It's magical, it's life force, you can use it, but trying to have an extremely solid understanding of it, it won't work. Yeah, that makes sense, especially with like the primordial forces that are coming out of the Triforce, and the way that like the goddess's powers are manifest. That makes a whole lot of sense. It feels like kind of missing the point, I think, to try and force the Zelda universe to have a specifically concrete magic system. Darth Mago says, honestly, the Force in Star Wars is like that too. The will of the Force literally shapes who wins and loses a fight, and it throws power skills to the wall. Yeah, that makes sense too. I mean, I always kind of like vastly preferred. I mean, like I'm biased by certain sources like Plinkett and all that, but I always preferred Yoda's kind of esoteric, almost mystical description of the Force being like this sort of like network of ethereal energy that just like binds us and unites us and stuff, as opposed to no, you don't understand, little bugs in your blood, they make okay, I know I'm not doing it justice, I know I'm being too glib, but at the same time there's something very magical about being able to reach into this, like the fiber of the universe itself, and having that resonate with you on a deeply personal level and connect you to other things, versus you were chosen because midichlorians. That's not as favorite of me. Sorry, says Zelda shaking hands with Star Wars equals the Force shaking hands with the Force. Yeah, it's a good point. I like that. Mm. So, oh, random question, Magog. Do you know there was some concept that came up in the recent Star Wars movies about like Force dyads. Like was it Rey and Kylo were supposed to be like particularly significant because they formed a dyad or something like that? Is that something that was established before in the larger universe, or is that something that was brought in those movies particularly? And I'd be curious if you have any thoughts about how it gets kind of integrated, whether or not you think it works well. Okay, so I'm finding myself a little bit more tired than expected, so I'm going to jump right into it. But of course, I love the conversation. I always love chatting with you guys. Let me know if you have any other questions. To kind of paragraph or paraphrase what I was saying before, my attempt to try to figure out what the core misunderstandings are and stuff like that really has led me to this. I think some people are a little bit confused about what the term universal really means. We talked about that extensively. It just like means a feat that scales to creating or destroying our universe, essentially. But people are getting better about that from what I see in the way that people phrase their videos over the years. Then there's the number one problem, and like seriously, like above and beyond, like by a huge margin, is just not knowing how to, or choosing not to correctly interpret source material, not citing your sources, and not being curious enough about putting things in context. So really, I could summarize that by just saying context. People don't use context. They take things out of context, and that's what causes a lot of the misunderstandings. So what I want to do is leave Key's video for later.
Is Naruto Universe?
Sorry. I want to just try to go through. Sorry, shush. I want to go through a bunch of different videos in short segments and just talk about how the context being omitted or being kind of shuffled around winds up muddying the waters. Some of the stuff I haven't seen yet. Some of it I have. So I want to start off by just give me a second to kind of pull up the video that I watched recently. I think we can start with this one is a good example over here. Let's move this one over. A whole bunch of different examples. I think this one I was going to pass on. Naruto is universal. So yeah, this is one I responded to earlier. Then we have like this one is sort of interesting as well. Yeah, let's start with these and see how far that gets us. And let's just see if we can identify the core issues here. Of course, none of this is like set in stone. This is just sort of my attempt to get to the core of what I think are some of the issues are. So this is a video by YouTuber Krypton. Please go check them out. And if you like, I think his content, if you like his content, please consider subscribing and giving a thumbs up. Watch the video in context. We're probably going to be jumping around. We might watch it in a faster speed just to get through. And I'm going to start from like over here because this is where the scaling starts. And really, this isn't a debunk, although I might try to debunk a few points here and there. It's more just sort of an examination of like, okay, here's a problem. Here's a stumbling block. Here's something that I see as a potential source of misinformation. Here's what we can do to try and do this better in the future. It's peer review, not a debunk, okay? So, S minus cells in Dragon Ball. I'm not sure. Are you talking about like the little Cell Junior things? Darth Magog says, oh yeah, the Force Dyad was a new concept for the new movies. It's kind of similar to battle mediation, and it's not the craziest thing in Star Wars. Oh, okay, gotcha. So battle mediation, was that like the official term for the stuff that you were talking about, like the will of the Force shaping battles? Or like who wins and loses a fight? Oh yeah, sorry I asked the same question. I don't think it's a dumb question. It's good to ask. Good question, says Magog, because they don't use it in the movies. It's a very rare technique that telepathically links Jedi. Oh, that's cool. Links Jedi to one another and basically buffs even non-Force sensitive troops. Oh, that's awesome. So, like, if you're a Jedi and you are fighting alongside somebody, you could potentially use the Force, or the Force could take advantage of your connection to provide that person with a combat boost, even though they're not technically a Jedi. That's actually a really cool idea. S cells are the things that make Saiyans go super. Oh, for fuck's sake, really? I mean, I guess that makes sense. For some reason, I've been completely unaware of that. That's yeah, okay. That seems completely superfluous and unnecessary. Not your comment that the inclusion of S cells at all. That's really weird to me. Ugh, I don't like that. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. Let's see. Let me check the volume. I'm gonna bring down the music. Probably pause that for the foreseeable. And let's just see what our levels are like. So 3, 2, 1.
Topic about whether or not Naruto
I think lose it a little bit.
could reach universal.
Okay, so again, Krypton Naruto is universal and is severely downplayed. Please check out the video in context. We're just going to be going through and stopping anytime that I want to kind of be like, hey, this is something we could point out that maybe we could do better.
Levels of power, with the majority usually doing little more than simply passing the arguments aside.
I will say I really like this editing style. I've noticed that quite a few people use a very similar style to this, and I'm not sure if it's like one editor or something like that, or if it's like a visual effect or package or whatever, but I really do like it. I fucking love this. Let me start off something positive. This editing style here, like this, the way that these images are framed, the color, the quotations, like everything. Erica's hands are really fucking big. I really, really like this. This color scheme, the way that this is framed, the text and everything, these like, yeah, I don't know what you would call this, but I fucking love it. And you notice like there's like a subtle 3D or like parallax effect right here with Haku in the foreground being like moving a little bit different to Zabuza in the background. It's very subtle, but it's like this is one layer, the blood is another layer, and then Zabuza in the background is another layer. Like the way that this is constructed and set up is just fucking beautiful. I'm gonna assume that it's Krypton's editing. And if not, then like the credit would just transfer to whoever did it. But it's a really, really cool style, and I just wanted to like celebrate that for a second. Like look at this shit. It's just beautiful. The visual effect, this like that, like I want to hire this person to do thumbnails, like seriously. Really like this work, this editing here. Yeah, oh, that animation of the eyes, like that's so cool. Like wait a second, yeah, like that is really fucking cool. I love that. And the parallels between their visages, this like this whole fucking sequence, this with Gaara and Naruto, it's beautiful. So shout out to Krypton, or shout out to whoever did this. More people should do things of that quality because it's great and I love it. That being said, let's start talking about the nitpicking, retentive stuff. Saria says S cells are the things that make sense. Oh yeah, that's right. S cells were a new thing that Toriyama Sensei made up for some reason. Oh, Toriyama himself actually did it. That's bizarre. Darth Mega said, "Oh my god, that's actually so sick." Oh yeah, that like combo bonus thing is really cool.
Divisive topic about whether or not Naruto could reach universal levels of power.
I do think it's funny that it is so divisive, because I don't know, to me it's so clearly, so obviously not even a thing, that when I hear that it's controversial, I hear that it's divisive, it is kind of bizarre to me. It's like how it's like I feel crazy. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. So anyway, that's not Krypton's fault.
Majority usually doing little more than simply passing the arguments aside without actually giving it any thought.
I will agree with that.
Myself obviously being an exception to this.
Well, that remains to be seen. But yeah, I think in general, one of the major issues is just like not being curious enough to delve into the source material. Admittedly, this is made harder when content creators like don't cite their sources and don't provide like real references for people to easily look up. So, I think we all need to kind of own our part in that.
The main argument as to why Naruto can reach universal levels of power obviously starts at a point which I'm sure you were all expecting.
I do want to also give credit. I think he does a pretty good job of specifying, like, hey, he actually describes what universe level means, as opposed to like compare this to fucking Noodles starting off his video by saying, well, this person can create a universe, so they're universal. Like, look at this motherfucker actually providing like the correct definition for universe plus, right? And this sets a good precedent overall. I think this is something that people just confused about, so including it is definitely very helpful. But let's get back to the nitpicking.
Argument as to why Naruto can reach universal levels of power obviously starts at a point which I'm sure you were all expecting, that being Kaguya.
Yep, that makes sense.
During the end of the 4th grade shinobi.
Okay, so this is the first problem that I have. This translation seems to be well made overall. Obviously, I'm not a native speaker, excuse me, but the formatting, the inclusion of kanji and stuff like that makes sense. It seems like it is relatively professional if you read through it. It all seems pretty coherent. Uh, but the problem that I have with this is that we don't get a source for where this is from, and it's never established. Krypton doesn't establish its credibility, and we also don't get a credit for who did this work. So I find that like that's a major fucking problem in a lot of these videos, is that people will just throw some fucking scan from some fucking place up on screen and somebody's translation, and not really explain who did the work or give them credit. And like I guess for some people, like I think maybe Hobbes was it, or Acolyte, that yeah, I might be getting this wrong, but I think I like bothered TG about this, and I was like, hey, stop not crediting people. And then I think Hobbs messaged me, or somebody like that messaged me on Discord and was like, hey, just so you know, I saw your comment, and like I I freely give my translations to people, and I don't expect them to credit me. So thanks for your concern, but also like you don't need to worry about it. I helped TG with this, and it's fine. Um, so some people might not want to be mentioned. Some people might not want to be credited, and so I think it's important that you, myself included, like remember to give people the benefit of the doubt. Just because they're not showing you who did the work doesn't per se mean that they're plagiarizing or that they're trying to not be forthcoming. But at the same time, if they are taking other people's work and it's not their own and it hasn't been freely given, then it needs to be credited. And I've seen this happen way too many times where people's work is just taken. And especially if you're making profit off of it, that like fucks it up even further. I will say that he's about to make an argument about what this term here means, this kanji here. So this, let's just look it up. Just to remind everybody, people tend to use Jisho as a source. It's not flawless or anything, but it is a source that people do reference. So I'm going to be using it because it seems to be accepted by the community, though you're welcome to dispute it. If you want to look up the term for like universe, right? So a term for universe, the kanji look like this, and if we play the audio for it, hopefully you heard that the audio for it is uchu, right? Uchiu, right? So the definition of that is universe, cosmos, or space, the universe, totality of everything. And then here's an example sentence. Now compare that to this.
Sekai.
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 Right? So this can be used to refer to the universe, but it also doesn't have like this cosmic connotation to it necessarily, and it can mean a whole bunch of other space, a realm governed by one Buddha, or space, world, you know, the whole of human civilization. Like there's a bunch of different or the whole of the physical universe, an ontological world, etc. Right? So there's nuance and there's differences in what these things mean. The strokes, or the kanji for this refers to a world or boundary. This refers to generation, world, public society, etc. Let's compare that to uchu, right? Uchu, this one means eaves, roof, house, or heaven, midair, space. So like heaven, space. You can kind of see where the etymology of this is kind of coming from, right? So let's go back here to the video and notice that the kanji being used here is sekai, right? Same thing here. It's sekai. It's oh no, not this, excuse me. It's sekai down here. You can see it has, if you're not familiar with the kanji or whatever, you can see it has a little box with a bracket underneath, and then this little dude over here. And then to use the technical terms, you can kind of see it. It's blurred out, but here's a little box and a little bracket, and there's a little dude up there, right? Same thing over here. So it's sekai that's being used, and the obviously like somebody who knows more about Japanese will be able to dispute this better than I can, I'm sure. But sekai has multiple definitions, and people just pick the one that suits their purposes without really substantiating it, in my opinion, and don't bring up the fact that like uchu is never used. So that I think is something to be aware of. Draft Magog says an issue with power scaling is that most scalers assume their audiences is in the in-group and share their thinking. Yeah, share their thinking, and I think also that they're just implicitly familiar with the terminology and the metrics and stuff like that. And as we've talked about before with Dr. Strangle and all that, some of the ways that these like the wikis and stuff present their data and like describe their tiers, they're not always like super clear. So especially for somebody who's never done power scaling before, who's just like myself, like who kind of got into it by hearing a debate here or there can be kind of a some friction in terms of like a barrier to entry. It can be hard for people to kind of get started and have like a genuine introduction that is neutral and fair, especially given that like it's so easy for things to get tribalistic and polarized, you know? So I don't know. I guess I don't really blame any one individual person for ever being confused about this stuff. But I think if you're a content creator, you should do your damnedest to represent things accurately. And I never really get down on somebody for trying and failing, but it's the not trying that pisses me off.
War, it is stated that Kaguya was going to functionally recreate an entire dimension, which is verbatim referred to as a space-time.
Okay, so I'm gonna try not to be too nitpicky here. I'm a little irritated that he didn't really explain what the difference between space-time, time-space, universe, and dimensions are, and I think that is a major source of confusion. So if we're going to be using these terms, I think we need to take the time to define them and explain them accurately, and I think people just kind of, tend to throw them all in a pot and mix them up and just pick out whichever one suits the argument at a given time. And remember, right, that Sekai was mentioned here, and see how this comes up later.
Point which I'm sure you were all expecting, that being Kaguya. During the end of the 4th grade Shinobi War, it is stated that Kaguya was going to...
Also, Kaguya is starting to become my new fucking Tsukiyome. I'm sick and tired of hearing people talk about Kaguya. I don't know who the fuck that is, but we'll try to not be too petty about that. But yeah, Kaguya. So is it that hard to pronounce the U? I don't know.
To functionally recreate an entire
I know that's very petty of me. It's just like, it's one of my pet peeves.
Dimension, which is verbatim referred to as a space-time.
Okay, that's really not true, is it? Like, I don't think her spaces are ever referred to as space-times, because space-time is the theory, and time-space is the place and time. So there's a bit of a misunderstanding there.
Whether or not this actually qualifies for universal levels of power is entirely contingent on the size of the dimension itself.
Yeah, this is important. I like the fact that he's actually like referencing the power scaling metrics. He gets a point for that for sure.
As it must be bare minimum 93 billion light years in size in order.
The universe has an observable. Well, yeah, that's right. So it needs to be at least as big as the known observable universe. I guess it depends on whether you're using known universe or visible universe. Those are two different things. But it does help to have this clarification, so that's useful. Kago, yes. Oh my god. I'm not going to be able to get that out of my head now. Thank you. What a gift. What a gift, Magog. Yeah, Kago, yes. I would accept that over Kaguya, for sure. But Virtue actually has a little treat for us later on that I'll share. He might have actually usurped Noodles from his throne, but in the pronunciation department. But I'll save that for later. Sorry says, I don't know why people don't credit translators like I credited Hobbs with the translation I did myself for understanding that if Link dies, the timeline splits because I'm only a N3 in Japanese. I wanted to be sure I was correct. Yeah, of course. And like, look, I think not everybody knows how to find a translator. Like, I had no idea until I came to Sage's server, and that's part of the reason why I went to that is the reason why I went to his server in the first place, is because I was watching a stream that I think you were on, and you were throwing bands, man. You were like donating profusely, and I was like, okay, so this is somebody to watch. He's clearly getting a lot of love. This is probably a good sign, right? And so somebody in chat said something translation, and Sage said, oh, this is this character, this is this kanji, blah blah blah, and he was explaining it, and I was like, hey, can I like ask for help with the translation? I'd be happy to donate. And he said, yeah, join the Discord. And so I did, and I think the first message that I posted was like, hey guys, I need help with this. I'm happy to, like, I don't know if you charge or whatever, but I'm happy to make a donation to the server, Nitro or whatever. Just like, let me know. And basically within a few minutes, somebody had already done it for free, like before I could even make the offer. It was like, they were super fast, super friendly. I want to say it was Anime Drip, Hobbs, Acolyte, and one other person whose name I'm forgetting. But they were also, they were all like super, what's the term for it? Generous, I guess is the best way to put it. But not everybody knows that. Not everybody knows, like, I didn't know about Jisho for a while. I kind of assumed that I wasn't going to be able to look up words in Japanese because I don't have like Japanese input on my keyboard. I know how to write some hiragana and katakana, but I don't know how to write any kanji. So I had to kind of learn about the resources available to me after a while of being in the community. So I don't fault anybody for struggling with that initially, but if you're gonna be posting translations and if you're gonna be posting stuff like this, at that point it's like the excuses start to disintegrate a little bit, you know. Sorry says I would donate to you. Well, thank you. That's very sweet of you to say. I hope it wasn't like I didn't mean to say like, oh, like look at this guy, he's getting so much money, blah blah blah. Like I need to be like him or I want money. That's not my motivation. It was more like, uh, the people in the chat, including yourself, seemed very enthusiastic and like were supporting this person. And I was like, oh, this is a really good sign. And I already liked his videos. I'd already like, subscribed at that point. I think I might have even already been a channel member at that point because I saw that I think I joined like pretty much immediately after I saw the Naruto University canon explained video because I was like, this video is fucking on point. I'm joining this shit. Um, and then when I saw you like donating and like your enthusiasm and stuff, I was like, oh fuck yeah, okay, like this is gonna be my new thing. Like this is awesome. So I just appreciated that. But yeah, like I I appreciate the sentiment. I think, like I said before, I don't think I'd ever gonna turn on donations because I just I don't need the money and I don't want like uh the financial aspect of things crossing into this thing that I'm doing for fun, and for connection with people. If I did enable it, it would be like I don't even know how to do this, but I've heard you can set up like a transparent bank account where you can see where the money is going, and I would just be like, you can donate here and then we can decide together like what we want to spend on the stream. Like, hey, I found this cool artist, I want to commission them, what do you guys think? Like, let's pay this person to do some shit for the channel or whatever, that'd be a lot of fun. But yeah. Sorry, I said no. I'm just saying I donate to you. I plan to become a member for Magog. I think Magog has members because my friend and our online store is doing great. Oh, you made 2K this week. That's fucking amazing. Hey, congratulations. That's really really cool. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Honestly, I love being able to support creators, even if it's in just like a little small way, and encourage people to do their art. So I totally get the sentiment, and I'm happy to donate to people. I'm like genuinely glad when even if it's like a tiny little thing, even if it ends up getting forgotten very quickly, the fact that I'm like comfortable enough financially and that I can just, I don't know, throw a couple of coins in the toss a coin to your witcher kind of thing, in the bucket, hoping that goes to a good place. I don't know. I hope that it makes people feel good. Talking about money is always awkward. It's always been an awkward thing in my family. But yeah, I hope that makes sense. Anyway, let me go back to whining.
Considered a true universe and thus qualifying for the tier. The true size of Kage.
Okay, yeah. So I'm irritated that he didn't actually reference where this is coming from. Like, you should link to VSB or whatever. But it's fine.
His dimensions is rarely, if ever, extrapolated upon.
That's very true. People don't really want to calc her dimensions.
Outside of us seeing very clear celestial bodies such as stars, including day and night cycles.
Okay, so this kind of irritates me in that, again, like, we don't have references. Like, where is this from? As far as I know, if I'm just a random person watching this video, I have no context or no information for where these come from. This could be fan art. This could be concept art, right? Obviously, that looks like Sasuke, but where the fuck is this coming from? I think this is coming from the fucking Scarlet. I don't even remember what it's called. It's coming from like the Shin arc that very few people are talking about these days. But like, please cite your sources and provide timestamps and time codes so that people can actually go look this up and learn, and not just be like, oh, there's a picture, so I guess it's true, right? That's a huge source of misunderstanding and like spreading misinformation.
However, we do get
not misinformation. It makes it harder to have a productive conversation when people do this.
Additional context as to how large the dimension can truly be.
And that's fine that they have celestial bodies. I mean, the thing is that the various Kaguya dimensions or realms or whatever are depicted differently in different iterations. So I think it's very important to also try to show, like, this is what it looks like in the manga, this is what it looks like in the anime, and this is why we're using this for, like, this particular version for this particular argument or whatever. Like, just give context.
And canon material, such as the Storm games, in which...
Okay, I object to this phrasing, in canon material like the Storm games. I know that some people think that the Storm games are canon. Some people think that only some of them are canon. The evidence that he is posting here, again, like no source is provided, which is frustrating. But really, from what I've read and seen in the community, the idea is that Kishimoto himself worked directly on some of the Storm games. He wrote some of the cutscenes and some of the story arcs for shit like Creation of Akatsuki, and he also apparently did some of the character designs for stuff like Mecha Naruto, and also when they designed certain combo attacks, they imagined what the characters would do in character. So like obviously Hashirama, Ashura, and fucking Naruto never actually team up and do a combo attack in canon, but if they were, this is what it would look like, and it's scaled appropriately um to their overall power level relatively in the show. So it's not like some kind of crazy totally out of pocket thing. It's still following the general guidelines. Okay, following the general guidelines and being basically on par doesn't mean that it's actually canon. And we went over, previously on the stream how certain boss fights, like the Kakuzu boss fight is a great example from Storm 3, and like the lead up to the Kaguya boss fight and a lot of the details of that fight, like they introduce this whole other sub fight with Obito and shit that never happens. Things are changed, things are warped, distorted, things are like represented in different ways. It's not canon. It's official, it's verified, it's approved, but it's not canon. Like Mecha Naruto himself as a character is not canon to the manga. It's not canon to Boruto. It is a side spin-off character that, yes, is on par with the overall like power level and everything present in the universe at that time, but that's different from saying that it's part of the actual main Naruto timeline. So that's something that gets thrown around a lot. Like, okay, well, the data books are canon. This fucking stuck in my craw for some reason, that Sage was like, you can just assume that things from the data book are true because they fit the Oxford Dictionary definition of canon. That doesn't fucking matter at all, dude. Like, what matters is whether or not they are accurate, whether they're reflected in the manga, whether there is actual evidence demonstrating that to be the case. But because it fits an external definition of canon, oh, I guess we don't have to fact check it. I guess we don't have to be curious about whether or not it actually lines up and do any research, because we can just say categorically it fits into this category, so we're done. Fuck that. Like, it's so incurious. It's so like disconnected from any kind of attempt to genuinely understand it. It's just a huge pain in the ass to try to get around that kind of apathy. But no, something being official doesn't mean that it's canon. Something being worked on by the author doesn't mean that it's canon. Like spin-off stories, alternate tellings, retellings, etc. by the same author are not necessarily canon to one another, even though they're made by the same person. So I don't know. There's a lack of curiosity in terms of how to use the source material and shit like that. That's also a big problem. Let me check in with chat real quick. Darth Magog says, "Oh, that's sweet. Sorry, but I don't have Patreon or memberships. No idea what I do with the money." Yeah, that's fair. I kind of feel the same way. Like, I think if I got to a point where, I love my job. I really don't want to quit my job, or really do anything else. But if for whatever reason I just had to, or like my feelings changed, and an opportunity to do YouTube full time came up, like if I could spend the same amount of time that I'm spending on my career instead doing YouTube videos and make even like half as much, or like I won't even put a number on it, just like make a sustainable amount of money where I could live comfortably, then I would consider doing it at that point. Because at that point, like I'm elevating the channel to a certain quality where I think I'm like providing more of a service almost, where it's like, okay, I can put out stuff on a regular basis that's of a particular quality that people can depend on as like a regular thing, and I can elevate it to be more of a resource than it is now. And then I feel like it's fair to request some compensation for that amount of time. And if I do that, if I request that compensation, and then I maintain my promises, so to speak, then I can have a sustainable business model that is able to help me live comfortably doing something that I love, and that's like the dream, right? So I would consider it doing under that circumstance, but like it would have to be at that level where I was like, I need the money, and I also am going to make sure that if people are paying for this service, that they're getting their money's worth. Like that's very important. Even if it's just sitting through like 10 seconds of a shitty ad, like that's 10 seconds of your life that your neurons are being like wrestled into submission for some fucking product that I'm probably not even aware of. If I'm gonna subject you to that shit, then I have to genuinely feel like it's worth it. So, yeah, you're not dumb. Sorry, you're not dumb. But like, I feel like this is one of those topics, especially since we're not talking face to face, that money is awkward. I don't know if it's the same for you guys in your culture, your cultural background, and all that. But for me, it's like it's always been an awkward, like almost semi taboo thing to talk about in my family, and so I get like a little cagey talking about it for whatever reason. It's not because I'm like insecure around you guys. It's just like the way that I've been, like the kind of cultural context that I grew up in. So and especially since we're not talking face to face, we're trying to figure out each other's like intention via chat. I'm assuming it's going to be a little awkward from time to time, but I think we all kind of understand each other here, right? We all kind of get along. So I don't think any of us are dumb. It's just the inherent awkwardness of the subject in this particular medium. Um, Magog then says most YouTubers of my size in the XJW community would have a Patreon. I'm just the rare exception. And hey, respect. You know, you found what works for you, and you didn't like force yourself to manifest your content in a particular way, which I think is really great in and of itself. No shade to them, by the way, just not my bag. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I don't I don't inherently ever get mad at anybody for turning on monetization. Like, hey, if you work really hard at something, you know what's that? I know it's like cheesy or whatever, but that Joker line from the Chris Nolan movie, like, if you're good at something, never do it for free. Like, sure, fine. You provide a service, you work really hard in it, you're entitled to compensation. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. But like, once you do, I think you have to understand. There's a certain kind of like business ethic that then enters into the conversation, and then I think that carries with it a certain responsibility. And if you're not maintaining that responsibility, then that's like not good. Yeah.
Which we view into our dimension, and we see that it very clearly houses things such as.
So let's just talk about this. Characters that are not existing anymore. Oh yeah, so we went over this with a key video, so we don't need to spend too much time on it. I'll just say that like nothing here really demonstrates that the stuff is canon per se. I mean, they're specifically talking about non-canon things that are happening with like Shisui being portrayed here. So it's on par with what would have happened in the manga potentially, but it didn't actually. So there's some nuance here.
Blue Shift and Red Shift Nebula.
Okay, and now we get back to this shit, okay? So
we see that it very clearly houses things such as Blue Shift and Red Shift Nebulae.
Okay, so I've watched, like I said, I think 10 videos from 10 different people this past week, and I think 5 or 6 of them, I might be exaggerating, but like a lot of them, like more than expected, had this comment about Redshift Nebulae. Now look, this is one of those things that just kind of gets passed around as a meme within the community, right? Like I've heard a lot of different people just drop this comment like, oh, Momoshiki's dimension has a Redshift Nebula in it. And when I first Sage pulled out that trap card on me during a conversation, and I admit at the time I was like, oh, okay, this seems like an intelligent and trustworthy person. He is saying that this is a redshift nebula. It does look like a nebula, and it does look red, so I guess it's redshifted. And I just, yeah, very clearly some brave choice of words. Yeah, I mean, like, it's not like you can't use that, but it definitely is kind of a bold statement, right? And hopefully one that gets backed up by evidence, right? It doesn't just stand on its own. But yeah, so Redshift and Blueshift Nebulae, at the time, I just kind of swallowed that, right? I was just like, okay, well, I trust Sage. He probably knows what he's talking about. He seems intelligent. He's made a lot of videos. People respect him. So I'm probably wrong and he's probably right, and I'm just going to go with that and not be too skeptical about it. And I'm kicking myself for that now because I guess I was like too naive or too trusting. And I think I don't want to make anybody cynical or jaded, myself included. I don't think we should approach conversations with other people in a cynical way. But I think, getting into the habit of asking, could you please show me a source for that? Or how do you know that's true? Can you please explain that? And not just accepting things at face value, trying to find a balance between healthy cynicism or healthy skepticism and cynicism is extremely fucking important. Because even if the other person is well-meaning and you're well-meaning as well, this shit spreads like a virus. Not to be too dramatic about it, but as a visual metaphor, it's like a meme. It just like permutates and spreads from person to person. It just gets passed along. And then all of a sudden, we as a community wake up one day and we're like, oh, we already all know that there are redshift and blueshift nebulae, right? So we don't have to argue about this, right? It's already been established because we've all just kind of accepted it. All it takes to break through the cycle, though, is just to be a little bit curious and just ask yourself, well, okay, how do you know that this is a redshift nebula? What is a redshift nebula? What is a nebula? And what is redshift? And we don't have to go through all this all over again, but like the short answer is that something in the sky being red or being blue doesn't mean it's red or blue shifted. You have to actually demonstrate the shift, because there's shit in the sky that's just red. I mean, in like the universe, there's shit that's just blue. It doesn't mean it's red or blue shifted. Red and blue shift is a phenomenon that happens from our, like, the perspective of an observer moving quickly towards or away from something. So you have to actually demonstrate that to be the case. Showing some blue and red shit in the sky in Kaguya's dimension doesn't establish anything other than there's blue and red shit in the sky in Kaguya's dimension. So here is the other major pillar of problems in this community, is just a lack of fucking curiosity, and I want to give like the benefit of the doubt and just say like it's a naive, well-meaning, kind-hearted tendency to accept statements as authoritative from higher ranking, so to speak, members of the community. If there's somebody who has a certain amount of clout or respect and they seem like a decent person, you're probably, if you're not a sociopath, you're probably going to just say, oh, okay, I trust you, which is a reasonable, normal human thing to do. Unfortunately, you can't do that in the Naruto community because you're going to get like misled. Not from everybody, not all the time, not in every context, but in the power scaling context, it's gonna happen, and it's gonna happen a lot. So you need to figure out, and I'm still working on this. I still haven't like perfected this by any means, but we all, I think, engaging in these conversations need to find that balance between healthy skepticism and cynicism, and learn to ask, please show your source and please explain why you believe that. Like, please show me how you got there, and not just, you know, like treat the symptom, not, or treat the fucking cause, not just the symptom, if that makes sense. Sorry, it says me physics and astronomy student hearing redshift nebula. Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know, man. That's the other thing too. Is like I've learned so much about things that I never would have really taken the time to learn about. Everything from how long horses can gallop to what fucking string theory is. There are things that I've obviously like encountered in my life, but I haven't had that incentive, that spark to really dive into them. And so my interactions with the Naruto community, although they've been frustrating sometimes, have motivated me to learn about these things that are outside of my normal sphere. And I think like Naruto, media like this can be an incredibly powerful teaching tool. If I taught a class at a school, especially if it was like a high school or even like a freshman college course, I feel like I would want to try to reach for common popular things to help serve as like a bridge of understanding, instead of just diving into the deep theory, right? It's a way of inspiring people to get into something that they might otherwise be intimidated with, or not really have like a blueprint for how to start talking about it. And instead of that, we just get like the terms like Roche limits and red and blue shift nebula and whatnot that just get misappropriated, misrepresented. Super gravity and super symmetry getting like the sci-fi, not their sci-fi terms, the physics terms and the astronomy terms are being used to misrepresent the manga, which comes at the disservice of people potentially learning about something fascinating. It's really fucking frustrating, honestly, and it's really like it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful towards everybody involved and towards the subjects you're discussing. And it's a huge wasted fucking opportunity as well to just teach and to learn something new yourself. So again, lack of curiosity might actually be the biggest fucking problem in the community, as far as I can tell. Yeah, horses for God, I'm so in love with the way that the horse standard of measurement has been evolving over the course of these streams, Magog. I'm so grateful for that.
With nebulae such as these being evidence for upwards of 1 million galaxies, as well as an expanding universe,
Okay, if you're gonna throw something like that out there, please show like any evidence whatsoever for the fact that a redshift nebula or a blue shift nebula exists, being proof of 1 million galaxies. As far as I can tell, this is just made up, right? And it might not actually be made up. So this is the thing. If you don't provide sources for the shit that you're saying, then you can actually wind up like what's the expression, like hosting yourself on your own petard, right? Like you shoot yourself in the fucking foot, because it makes like hard work and research that you may have done look like made up shit because you're not actually explaining where this shit comes from.
Given additional context, such as her dimensions being related to Momoshiki's or
Okay, so the idea here is that Kaguya's dimensions are related to Momoshiki's. What actually, what is the actual, so let's try and circumvent the problem and just ask what the context for that is. When Momoshiki's dimensions are discussed, really there's only ever one that's discussed, and it's discussed in this particular source of information. So before we talk about this, we need to establish what the source of information is, which he doesn't really do. I think he says it's like from the novels, but as we talked about previously, this is specifically a particular translation of a particular novel. There are dozens of differences in that novel from the movie that it's based on. So it's a spin-off novel that changes a whole bunch of shit from the movie that it's based on. And the movie has also been retconned in significant ways by the anime and the manga. So, first of all, there's no context provided as to whether or not this is a reliable, representative, or authoritative source. It's just said, well, it's from the novel, so fuck it, right? It's thrown out in a very, like, blasé sort of way with very little curiosity as to where the source comes from. And to be clear, Krypton, if you wind up watching this, like, I want to take a minute and say that I'm not, like, mad at you, so to speak, and I'm not trying to, like, beat up on your video or to dismiss the hard work that you did on this. I'm not debunking you, right? Like, I'm not trying to be shitty towards you. I hope you'll understand that, even though it sounds like I'm being kind of edgy. It's not your fault, per se. This is a large, wide-sweeping problem with the community in general, and giving you the benefit of the doubt, and I hope everybody else watching this video, like, extends him the same benefit of the doubt. It seems more to me like you, like me, just came across some bad information, and maybe being too trusting, or maybe a little less curious than you could be, wound up ingesting and repeating some of that information. And I get it. It's not like an asshole thing to do or whatever. I just want more people to be aware of that, because this is how the misinformation spreads. So if you do wind up watching this, and if I can leave you with one, like, concrete piece of feedback, it's just please be more curious, develop that healthy skepticism, and really, when you come across these things, try to drill down on where they come from, establish whether or not they're credible, and then put them into the broader context of, okay, this is one particular translation of one particular version of the story. Let's look at the other versions and compare them. Let's look at the translation and really break it down and see if it makes sense. And then let's look at it in the context of the whole chapter and the whole book to see if this represents the actual scene and the actual narrative correctly. Because otherwise, it just kind of comes across as like this incurious cherry picking, which you might not be an incurious person. It's just like, this is the way that it winds up coming across, and this, unfortunately, somebody else will pick this up and will regurgitate it and make content that passes along this meme. It just happens over and over and over again, so just be aware of that, please. Let's see. Meanwhile, Comet running to the end of the universe and back. By Comet, I must assume that you're referring to Urashiki, because Momoshiki, or Tonari, refers to a comet, and it must most likely be Urashiki. I'm still mad about that. I still lose sleep over that fucking conversation. Comet is Supergirl's source. Oh, okay, gotcha. Makes more sense. I have no idea about, like, Supergirl scaling, but considering that I've heard that Superman is, like, outerversal and boundless and shit, I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, there's super pets. I've heard that there's, like, a super dog in the recent Superman movie, and I super want to see that because it sounds super awesome and super cute. Yeah, I wish I had a super pet too. Isn't there like a Marvel pet that's like a cat that's also Cthulhu or something? I haven't seen. Isn't it like in Miss Marvel? I haven't seen that yet. Maybe I should. But anyway, so my main gripe here is with just a lack of curiosity. No kanji breakdown, which would be very helpful. The translator wasn't credited. Maybe Krypton did the translation himself, in which case that's great. It'd be helpful if you would mention that so that we don't, like, speculate about where it comes from. No, please put the page number. It's not that hard to just show the full page. Please show, like, what the actual novel is that this is coming from, so people can look it up, because otherwise it's like, as far as I know, this is fan fiction, right? Like, the Krypton is, again, it's not just him. Krypton here hasn't actually provided any reason for us to believe that this is not just some fan fiction. I know it's not. I know that it's not, but it hasn't been established and shown in this video, right? So we all together as a community need to stop doing this. Let's read the translation. Naruto was in darkness. Although it didn't seem like he was far from the Hidden Leaf Village, it was an unfamiliar place. It'd be more accurate to call it an alternate world. It was terribly cold and the sky was distorted. It was clear that this place was not. It was clear that this was not a place in his world. Kaguya had held the power of sending people to alternate worlds too. Could this something like a pocket dimension or hyperspace? Apart from this minor typo, I will say I've seen like 5 or 6 translations of this. This is one of the best, if not the best. Overall, it feels like it's been like it's accurate, it's faithful, and it's been translated. It's like been localized correctly. Like the grammar is correct. It fits based on what I've like talked to Dr. Strangle and Hobbs about. It seems very competently done. So I hope the translator does get credit. My issue with Krypton's approach here, though, is that he's saying that like Kaguya's dimensions are being compared to Momoshiki's dimensions. And yeah, Naruto is being like, well, Kaguya had the ability to send people to dimensions. Maybe this is something similar, but that doesn't actually link the creation process or the size or scale or scope of the 2 dimensions in any way. It's just saying that like this feels similar to what happened before, without actually like correlating any of the properties of those spaces. So I think there's also a tendency to overgeneralize and be like, well, since this is called this or this is related to this, we can just assume that it's likely that they're the same. I don't know what the term for that is. False attribution, is that what it is? But this shit happens like all the time, where people are like, these 2 things are similar, therefore they're the same, and that leads to a lot of misunderstanding as well. Sorry, it says, oh, Captain Marvel's cat. Okay. And the comics, her name is Chewie. Yes, Star Wars. And the MCU, her name is Goose. Okay, that's really cute. Is it Goose like in reference to like Top Gun Goose? That's cute. Also, yes, Crypto was one of my favorite parts of the Superman movie. Not my favorite part, but definitely up there. I gotta see that shit. I'm committing to it over the holidays for sure. Okay, let's continue.
Or being referred to as a sekai, which is the Japanese referential term for.
Okay, so he does actually know what sekai is, and it's kind of like I benefit of the doubt, but it feels dishonest. It feels shady when you show the kanji here, but you don't actually mention what it is or say the word out loud, but you describe it as being a universe. But then over here, you do show the kanji and you do explain exactly what it is. It's not cool that you didn't like reference where this comes from, but I know it's Jisho, so it's okay. It's like not that hard to look up. But please, or is it actually? Yeah, it's Jisho. So, like, please, like, provide references for that. Please provide references for where this comes from in the story. I don't know why we're not using the Viz translation. Not that it's, like, perfect or anything, but there is an official translation. We should at least look at it and see what's being said. But yeah, one of the definitions of the term sekai is world, but there's other ones too. So let's see what he says.
Dimensions being related to Momoshiki's, or being referred to as a sekai, which is the Japanese referential term for world and or universe by Sakura. This.
Okay, so by Sakura, if this is the thing you're saying about Sakura, if she's saying sekai here, when they're talking together, where was it? When they're having this conversation over here,
context such as her dimensions being related to Momoshiki's, or being referred to as a sekai, which is the.
Yeah. So if you're saying that like Sakura is saying sekai here, that's fine. Just, you know, if you could highlight it, that would be a lot better. I don't see it here. Let me take a look. Unless it's here, it's really hard to make out. I'm not seeing it. So I'm skeptical of that. Let's see what she actually says. I don't want to focus too much on like the debunking or whatever. If I could spell, that would help. But I am curious like what actually gets said. Oh, whoops. 682, I think. Not yet. Okay, so now we're in the ice thing. Okay, so she says world. Could we be the only ones brought to this world? Okay, that's fine. But like also, you know, it's probably worth mentioning Obito's using time space like a dozen times if he doesn't already do that. I don't recall. Let's go back here and see. I'm just not seeing it unless it's. Yeah. So I mean, like, it could be here and I'm just being stupid, or it's like blurry and hard to see. But if you're gonna do that, like, I know that you're perfectly capable of taking out an individual screenshot and blowing it up. So just do that. Just show the viz or something. You know, it just feels really weird that this is the way that this is being presented. you think Krypton is just a bad writer? I feel like he struggles to write tutorials slash explanations. Oh, this no, you're right. So we're kind of talking about two different things. There's a Krypton in the DC universe, but the author here of this video, this YouTube Naruto man, is also referred to as Krypton. So that's what I was talking about. Sorry for the confusion there. Um, it could be, it might be. I want to give the benefit of the doubt and say like, yeah, like Virtue, for example. I responded to one of Virtue's videos and I was like pretty critical of parts of it, but I don't think he's like dishonest. I don't think he's stupid. I don't think like I would slander him in any way like that. I would just say that like maybe his skills in terms of writing and framing his arguments tend to be a little bit prosaic as opposed to precise, and so sometimes his arguments aren't as compelling to me because I think he kind of gets carried away with the prose of it. It doesn't mean he's wrong about anything per se. It's just like his style doesn't lend itself to precision as much, and so sometimes there's like some gray areas that arise as a result of that. I hope that makes sense. So it could be, but like I'm not trying to come down too hard on anybody's individual writing style or anything. It's just like, at the end of the day, things are just not getting represented to my satisfaction, my lofty standards.
The Japanese referential term for world and or universe by Sakura. This could be valid reasoning on which to claim that it can actually be universal in scope. And
I know some people make that argument. They're like, well, this is called a parallel, and like, sorry, you're probably gonna agree with this, right? But like, let's see. This is a parallel universe. Parallel universe means like a clone or an identical universe to ours in a lot of sci-fi. So it's fair to assume that this is sci-fi as well, or that this is a parallel universe as well. And like, if you really want to just make that assumption, then you're allowed to. It's not like it's against the law or anything. But I think when you then try to put that into the context of like scaling, well, can Naruto do an AP or DC feat that's on that level? Just saying parallel universe isn't enough to get us there, in my opinion.
That's qualifying for the tier. However, even if this additional means of argumentation is ignored, even conservatively, the dimension would still be multi-galaxy, which is far above the mainline scale for Naruto.
Well, again, like the only depiction that I have seen of Kaguya's spaces potentially being multi-galaxy is specifically if it's specifically her depiction in the game, and I don't think that whole sequence is canon. There's a lot of differences between that sequence and the main universe. Like I don't see why it's more compelling to say that like that depiction of her planet is more accurate than the one that we see in the manga and the anime, just because parts of the games are canon. And then we start to get into like, okay, does it actually make sense that she like literally created multiple galaxies? Like, what's the actual narrative context for that? What would be the point of that? Can she actually harness that same amount of power in the form of an attack or something like that? Like, here's the thing, like people say, okay, well, Kaguya could make an ETSO, and since she could make that amount of energy, then she can, and that ETSO can like destroy and recreate a space, then she could like put that into her body, and therefore Naruto destroying parts of her body means that he's scaling over that. That's a lot of leaps. That's a lot of assumptions. That's assuming a lot about how chakra works. That's never really explicitly explained, at least as far as I've seen. It's a lot of meandering and nudging and gymnastics to kind of get us to like, okay, now we have an excuse to call this character universal as opposed to any concrete evidence. So I think that's fine in terms of constructing your own headcanon. I don't think it's appropriate for actually trying to get like a real hardcore for to sound so pretentious, but like, I guess like a more hard ass precise scaling here. Hey Ryoman, how's it going? It's good to see you. I hope you've been doing well. You made a new community post. Cool. Well, congratulations on continuing to grow your stuff. I will be happy to check that out. I'm gonna stay focused, I think, on these video responses, but remind me to check that out later if I don't. I want to support what you're up to. Ryoman says it's very easy to prove that Kaguya scales to her TSO physically. Actually, I'm very skeptical about that because I do think the TSOs have like essentially like hacks properties. But yeah, hit me up with that. I'd be more than happy to hear your thoughts. There could be counter arguments. even taking into account that different attacks have different AP. Yeah, feel free to share your thoughts. Be curious to hear your perspective there.
Which puts them anywhere from star to solar. There are
Well, okay, so let me go over that one time. So, as far as I'm concerned, like, that's the other thing too. It's like maybe the people who made the game just wanted the scene to look cool and they tried to render it out with like a blank white sky and it didn't look cool, so they thought it would be cooler if they made the shit look more cosmic. That doesn't necessarily retcon the main series to state that like Kaguya was definitely that's how it was supposed to be or whatever. That's like the correct interpretation of it. So I don't really think that's enough evidence to go off of personally. Um aren't truth seekers basically antimatter? Yeah, that's kind of the way I interpreted it. Like when they come into contact with something due to their properties, they cause that thing to disintegrate or disassociate or whatever. So they almost have like negation properties. Some people call it existence erasure. I think that's applying like a very specific kind of hack. I don't think that's what's happening. I more think it's just like almost like an acid or something like that, where it's causing like a chemical or atomic reaction that strips away the nature of the thing and reduces it to nothing, or not to nothing, it reduces it to its constituent parts, and then it can be reassembled or whatnot. um Rioman says, you shouldn't read my post. It's dedicated to revenge on one guy for a community post of his that annoyed me over a year ago. I didn't forget. Well, that's good. I'm glad you got it out of your system. I'm glad you got a chance to share it, and hopefully you feel a little bit vindicated. I I also have felt the similar way. Like I still remember conversations that I had from years ago that I felt were like unfair or whatnot. So I hope that you feel like you've been able to turn that into something positive. Um, yeah, so let's see what he says again.
is ignored, even conservatively, the dimension would still be multi-galaxy, which is far
Okay, like yeah, so you need to actually demonstrate that that's the case. Um, multi-galaxy implying a galaxy of what size exactly? Like what are those galaxies made up of? Keeping in mind that multi-galaxy doesn't is like a completely different tier from universal. Like I don't know, let's just look it up. Right, how many galaxies in the universe? Obviously, this is a quick Google search, so this might not be true at all, but like estimated 2 trillion galaxies. Okay, cool. So let's say that we could confirm that there was like 1,000 galaxies that were visible and definitively confirmed from that space. Or let's say there was 1 million. You still have to go up like multiple orders of magnitude to get to universal. So I don't know. I don't feel like this really helps at all. I don't feel like this has really been established. But whatever, even if it is, it's still like I think people have this tendency to also go like, well, we have galaxy tier over here. We have like sun tier or solar tier, then galaxy, sorry, solar tier or star tier. We have solar system, and then we have galaxy, and then we have universe. And since this character is already multiple iterations into galaxy, then it's not that crazy for them to be universal. But yeah, it can be, because even if you're like technically speaking, the requirement for multi-galaxy is 2 galaxies, and 2 and 1 trillion are like a very big fucking difference. So really, this is just too vague to go off of, and I think people don't have a high enough standard for precision in kind of going over their data.
far above the mainline scale for Naruto, which puts him anywhere from star to solar. There
I don't know what he's referring to there, but like star slash solar is still pretty fucking crazy. If you want to agree that like I will say this, if we assume that Kaguya's root time space, that the planet on her, like where they're fighting, the root time space planet is roughly equivalent to our Earth, and that the sun, the light source in her dimension is also roughly equivalent to our sun, then sure, like she blows up a planet and a sun. And if you want to call those two things part of a solar system and call that solar system level, that's fine, I guess. But in order to do that, I think you need to actually demonstrate that the planet is comparable to ours, and demonstrate that the sun is comparable, and then understand that like solar systems are not all made the same way. You know, like our uh our fucking solar system doesn't just have a few planets. It has, what is it, like 8 planets, the sun, and then it has like a shitload of moons and asteroids and all kinds of other stuff in it too. So like, you know, even if it's something that seems insignificant, like ice, like clusters of ice or whatever, or debris, there's still stuff there that's not being accounted for. The fact that it is technically semantically a solar system and that it includes a sun and an orbiting body doesn't mean that it is solar system level, if by solar system level we mean something that scales to our solar system. So again, this is the semantic kind of sleight of hand stuff where it's like, well, technically speaking, it's a solar system, so technically it's solar system level. It's like, no, that doesn't really get us anywhere. We haven't really done any measurements. There's no actual data here. It's really just kind of like shuffling words around to try to get something somewhere instead of showing where it actually is, which I find very frustrating. Magog says solar system. Yeah, it's nothing burger of a tier. Like, realistically, if you pop the star, the solar system is gone. Well, technically speaking, I mean, like, I don't know. It does take more energy to blow up the other shit and in the solar system, and also like being able to have an attack that spans the distance range of the solar system. You know, obviously our solar system is multiple astronomical units in radius, but so just being able to destroy the sun itself places like doesn't imply that it has that range. So I can see that the utility of it, but yeah, also sun really big, sun really hot, if can destroy, then is very impressive compared to any of the other bodies that are part of the solar system itself. Ryoman said in that post, I just insulted him a lot and said I would destroy him in a debate. Okay, well, I gotta be honest, man. Like, I really don't support like threatening people with physical violence or implying physical violence. I hope that you got what you wanted out of it and that you were able to get some catharsis. I gotta say, I would discourage you from doing that as a general rule. You know, like I think we all remember Jay the Great, and Noodles threatening to beat the shit out of each other. To me, that was really kind of contrary to the spirit of things. I can't. I'm not trying to judge you. I don't know what the circumstances of this conversation were, but I would encourage you to try to avoid, like, if somebody's being so toxic to you that you feel driven to engage in that way, maybe just like leave them alone. Like, go away from that chicken. You know, it's like it's probably not going to be good for you. Anyway, like, obviously, you know, do what you feel is right, but I would encourage you to just like, I personally don't find that super fulfilling, just like insulting people or like talking about fighting them in the streets. I get it though if you feel threatened or whatnot, but yeah, maybe there's a better way to resolve that. Just maybe something to think about.
There are many ways that people have attempted to discredit the idea of Universal Naruto. One such of those
So, I gotta say, this is really subtle.
ways that people have attempted to discredit the idea of Universal Naruto.
But this is something that I think comes up a lot, and honestly, this is one of the major sources of problems as well. Again, I don't like benefit of the doubt to Krypton. I don't know if he is doing this deliberately. Let's assume that he's not. It's just an honest mistake. But like so far, he's only really spent like maybe let's say be generous and round up to 3 minutes establishing the case for Universal Naruto, and now he's already on some like, well, this is how people will try to downplay Naruto, and that is kind of shitty, to be honest. It like starts to stray into like vaguely gaslighty territory because we're already not we're already like moving away from the arguments and instead saying like describing people as down players instead of engaging with the debates and like the debate or the nature of the conversation in good faith. I really don't like that. I really don't like the fact that so often in these discussions people get cast as like trying to downplay or like being down players or whatever. Like, let's just talk about the arguments themselves and not like strawman or like ad hominem each other with terms like these. Personally, I don't think it would be productive if I just turned around and say, well, Krypton, you're just a wanker. You know, you think I'm a down player, but you're a wanker or you're a glazer, right? That kind of language just doesn't help anything. We either have a problem with each other's arguments or we don't. So maybe let's focus on that. Ryoman says, I just disliked his worldview. He wasn't toxic to me. Okay, I'm the aggressor here, not him. That to me, that's kind of a shame. You know, like, again, I hesitate to comment much because I don't know what's going on between the two of you, but that sounds like kind of a unhappy outcome for everybody. I'm sorry to hear that. Somebody says star solar, then you probably don't know what they're talking about. Lol, you need a huge multiplier to upscale from baseline star to solar. Yeah, you mean from like star to solar system level? Yeah, I mean, like, I think there are different tiers for a reason. I think at the very least you should provide definitions explaining what those tiers are and why you're making that leap, right? Darth Magog says, sorry, Krypton, this video was poorly formatted and written, excellent editing, but poorly written. 2 out of 5 would not recommend. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Like, again, like, something about, saying that out loud, I feel bad, like, in a way, because I don't want to. As much as there's a part of me that wants to be like, ha ha ha, I'm so much smarter, I know stuff so much better. Like, this person put effort into this video, and I want to respect that. But also, I am like personally frustrated at the spread of misinformation, and this is a very recent video as well. I don't want to take it too seriously. I don't want to be like too severe or whatever. I'm kind of in a way like using Krypton as a way of venting my own frustrations, which is a little unfair in a way, you know. So I want to acknowledge that. But yeah, I do think there's room to grow here. Like, that's fair to say, right? Just from a peer review standpoint. And I would hope that people would do the same thing to me if I made a video like this. Is that just like, be honest, like, let me know what you think, and then I guess it's up to him to figure out whether he wants to, like, how he wants to respond. It's totally within his rights to respond or not, or to change or not, to change his perspective or not. You know, my personal frustration is with like just the overall state of the meta for these arguments. But yeah, I think it's a fair assessment, honestly. As much as it just kind of feels like a little mean to be like 2 out of 5, but at the same point, if I was removing my feelings from it, I didn't like. I would probably say something like that. Like, points for editing, points for style. This fucking intro slaps hard, and like that's enough to earn you points on it in and of itself. Transitions, graphics, and everything are good, and definitely like points for like some of the stuff here, like citing the power scaling definitions, trying to explain that stuff to a novel audience. But yeah, there's other stuff in here that just feels like kind of lame, honestly. Um, unless they mean that it can be interpreted either way, as low and high end or something like that. Yeah, that makes sense, Roman. I think I see where you're coming from. Darth Magog says, all good, John. Just saying how I feel about this video personally. Peer review, definitely potential, but he needs to take this time and outline a little more. Yeah, I think that's fair. That comes across to me as like a totally fair, like, assessment. You know, I think if I receive that feedback personally, I think I'd be like, okay, this seems reasonable. I'll see about incorporating that feedback, right? So I think we're all good. Just kind of sharing my own feelings as well.
One such of those ways is people reducing Naruto's feats that might be considered universal and stating that they're just a matter of hacks, which is weirdly ignorant, as upon losing Kurama.
Well, also, you know, maybe I feel less bad about it with the language straying into gaslighting territory and being like, well, this is weirdly ignorant. Everybody else makes these mistakes, but I don't. And like, you're just downplaying. You're trying to. I really don't like the way this is being framed. So I guess maybe I feel a little less hesitant to be strict about it. Ryoman says, finished Junji Ito's No Longer Human manga. Oh, that's really cool. I still haven't read that. Although I'm a huge Junji Ito fan. Have you read, is it Gyo, The Death Stench Creeps? Uzumaki, obviously, is like a classic. Fucking love that shit. And Amigara Fault is also a favorite of mine. But, yeah, I have a few of the hardback, volumes, like collections on my shelf here. Big Junji Ito fan for sure. Saria says, speaking of Universe, I recently started reading an old Zelda manga. It's an adaptation of the NES story. Oh, that's cool. And it's given us one of the few times we've seen a complete cosmic scale of Zelda's universe. I'll actually put it in the Discord because the art is so beautiful. 1987 or 88. Oh yeah, that sounds awesome. I know that there are manga out there from the Zelda universe. I haven't delved into them much, but I would love to see that. So yes, please do share that.
Kurama would specifically note on how Naruto would lose his superhuman physical strength.
Okay, this is another potential issue here. Again, I'm upset that this doesn't have a source credited, or like not a source, but like a citation of where to find this. Yes, Kurama is saying that Naruto will lose his superhuman strength, but it's in reference to like Baryon mode. Naruto himself still has superhuman strength compared to like a normal human, and he still has access to shit like Sage mode. So is this particular thing that Krypton is saying is not that big of a deal, but it's just another example of like, okay, it doesn't really help to just have the panel, like show this individual panel to like blown up so that we can see the full text, which is like what he should have done back here with the Sakura statement, but also like show it in context as well so that we can see what the conversation is that's happening with Kurama. There's some important context that's being left out.
Would specifically note on how Naruto would lose his superhuman physical strength, obviously proving that chakra definitively has an effect on the physical qualities of the...
Okay, chakra, yes, obviously having more chakra in you means that you can increase your strength, that's fine. Um, I think that there's room to dispute exactly how that works because remember, Fused Momoshiki supposedly is universe level, but he's getting his little hand eye Rinnegan whole thing punctured um Boruto's like fucking just base like mass produced metal kunai. So I think if you're gonna make an argument like this about like how chakra enhances your physicals or whatnot, then it needs to be a deeper discussion with more data to support it. Because there's like weird shit like Minato is like one of the strongest characters in the series, but he gets a wood splinter in his shin. We've talked about that a million times on the stream, but like again, how are you fitting that into a universe where like Pain using Yahiko's body can tank a fucking nuke to the face essentially, right? And be fine. Um, so like there's more nuance here than that's being presented. Sure, Naruto gets stronger and probably has more durability if he has more chakra. I don't have a problem with that, but just like, more context is helpful.
those who wield it, and this is entirely contingent on the potency of the chakra itself, which means that Naruto would scale to it, and thus any
Um I don't like that phrase Naruto would scale to his chakra. That feels like it's a very odd way of paraphrasing the idea that more chakra can be used to increase your defensive capabilities or whatever. But let's see where he's going with this.
anything that Naruto could generate using his hacks is something which he would be physically capable of.
Okay, no. So yeah, this is another issue that I have with the way these videos are constructed is specifically trying to phrase things in very specific and particular ways to then open up avenues for other arguments as opposed to just like representing them in a more nuanced or genuine way. I think saying something very vague and very like ironically simultaneously vague and specific, like Naruto scales to his chakra, and then making a leap to like, well, that means that he scales to his hacks or whatever. Again, that doesn't actually provide a working definition or example of what a hack is. What hack are you talking about? How does chakra factor into the hack? Doesn't the term hack itself kind of imply that like it's not working with the same rules or whatever? So I think this is just sort of like when Noodles was trying to say some shit like fucking the chakra surrounding Kurama counts as a jutsu because it's chakra and jutsu are made of chakra, or when he said that like the human path's Ningendo ability to extract souls counts as a mind hack, and Kakazu resisted a genjutsu, which he didn't in the novel, and that's a mind hack, so Kakazu could resist the soul pull. It's this same kind of argument of just trying to like, how can we set up some sort of a weird pseudo-logical syllogism where we see this means that, that means this, or like A means B, B means C, so A means C, without actually demonstrating it to be the case, right? This kind of like language manipulation jutsu, it like really causes so many fucking problems and so much misinformation. It feels really dishonest too.
At least as far as attack potency goes. When
Well, again, like if it's an attack potency based thing, you could just say it's an AP based attack as opposed to saying it's a hack. Like those are two different things, right? So we're lacking definitions here again.
Universal Naruto becomes significantly more viable is around the Boruto era, when we are introduced to the character known as Momoshiki.
He is known as Momoshiki. That's true.
Momoshiki has the power to literally create an entire dimension.
Okay, so again, now we're back to the Momoshiki novel, and rather than again, we're having the same problem here. We have some fucking scan from some fucking page of some fucking book that has not had its credibility or reliability established. We don't have a breakdown of the kanji or a credit for the translator. In reality, this is coming from a book which, again, just to reiterate and be very fucking clear, is a fan translation of a spin-off of a movie that's been retconned. That spin-off has a bunch of other shit in it that doesn't sit on par with the other depictions of the story. There's no real context for what's happening, and it's not put into the context of the other three versions of the story. So in my opinion, we can just discard this. Like there's at this point, it's like when people act like this, when people bring up information in this particular context, they're asking us to do them a favor by ignoring all of the problems with it and basically just being like, well, I didn't do like any amount of research or put any amount of effort into this really. I don't really care. I'm not curious enough, or I just don't, for whatever reason, think it's necessary to actually work to put this in context. But you should just accept it. And if you challenge it, well, then you have to do the work. Why don't you go ahead and show me why it's wrong? Why don't you go ahead and do all that research? I don't need to because I already proved my point. That's very fucking frustrating as well. And it like really doesn't do anything to establish the credibility or validity of the source. It's just like, look, I can point to this. It technically says this thing, but it doesn't actually build the case. And even like part of the text is obscured by motherfucker Shiki over here, which is obscuring this text that says Sasuke's Rinnegan had detected the slow. We've been over this before, but this flow thing doesn't really make a lot of sense. I think Acolyte provided a great explanation for it last time, but without like that particular explanation, it's not something that ever gets shown in the other three versions of the story. It's one of those other weird changes that the author of the book specifically added. And yeah, this particular translation uses the term parallel universe, but there are other fan translations that don't use this particular term. And in fact, I can see Sekai right there, right? Right. So, where is it? These two kanji? I think it's there. So again, like I can't really read Japanese. Somebody else would have to tell me for sure. But where is the kanji for parallel universe? Why is that not being shown? You're perfectly happy to highlight the kanji when it does benefit you, when it services your arguments, like over here, wherever it was. So here, you'll highlight where the fuck is it? Back here, like, Krypton was willing to highlight the specific Japanese text that was germane to his arguments in orange, right? You can kind of see it up there in the upper part of the video. But here, like, compare it to what's happening here. We have the parallel universe thing highlighted in orange, but nothing over here highlighted in orange to see what's being referred to. So again, benefit of the doubt. Maybe this is just an early video that Krypton's making honest mistakes. This is not his problem uniquely or even personally. This is just what the meta of the community is. This is what everybody fucking does. In the same way that I'm not really upset with Virtue for putting out thumbnails about like X, Y, or Z, not even close, like not fair, or like you don't understand Madara or whatever, like I don't enjoy it, but it's also just kind of the meta. It's what everybody's doing right now. Again, not to beat up on Krypton too much, this is the same shit that I see everybody doing. They will highlight, not everybody, it's hyperbole, but like they will always be very sure to take the time to highlight and emphasize parts of translations that benefit them to kind of draw the eye to a certain part of it, but then they'll use that same translation or something from the same source later on and just highlight different parts of it and try to use, like, have your cake and eat it too. Try to use the same exact source in different ways, emphasizing different things to build their case in different ways while never actually putting it into context. It's and use the same technique, but like sometimes only use it to show things that benefit you, and use it as like a appendage to cherry picking, I guess is one way to put it. So this is just like really shitty practice overall. Again, I'm not trying to be mean, but like you need to be consistent about your own standards. And if you're going to do something like this, if you're going to use this technique of highlighting and drawing attention to certain things, stay consistent and like adhere to your own rules. Otherwise, it just comes across as like incredibly manipulative.
This dimension is itself referred to as a parallel universe.
So now we have another source, which we've seen this before. I don't know what this is. I think it's like an episode synopsis from the anime. And again, like we actually just saw this in one of Sage's shorts, I think. People are more than happy to show this without showing credit for the translator, without highlighting the appropriate text over here. Everything's fucking orange, so fair. You know, maybe use a different color. But again, like, where is this coming from? Why should I consider this to be authoritative? How does this actually fit in? Is this actually genuinely an accurate representation of what happens in the story, or is it like hyped up? There's a lot of fucking big, bold text with exclamation marks and double exclamation marks all over the place and like big flashes of light. Is this really the authoritative source? Is this going to be like a biased, an unbiased and like accurate and fair representation of the stuff that happens on screen? Or is this some hype shit? It looks to me like some hype shit, right? Playing a hugely active role. Okay.
We're parallel to the
very
Naruto universe,
skeptical.
Which means that the size of the dimension is not left to interpretation, and instead.
Also, it's pretty fucking clear that this is not something that Krypton just found for his own purposes, right? It's not that he just like found this scan somewhere else. the fact that these particular, like, there's no reason for this particular phrase about Naruto and Sasuke's abilities being inferior to be highlighted. It has nothing to do with his video. And the same thing was true of Sage's video. Like, Sage, um I think we can go and confirm, but I think had the same section highlighted, even though his video had nothing to do with this. So, like, somebody out there somewhere on the internet, like, was using this argument to emphasize Naruto and Sasuke's power and compare them. They exhibit powers that aren't in. Oh, wait a minute, hang on. They exhibit powers that aren't inferior to those of even Naruto and Sasuke. Okay, sorry, I thought this was talking about Sakura. I thought this was the thing that Swag was talking about. So I'll retract that. Maybe this is actually relevant. But the fact that I've seen, like, this very specific pattern of highlighting, to me means that, like, it's not like Krypton and Sage are finding this particular page and then translating it, or even finding the original translation. They're specifically finding a translation that other people used as part of other videos, as part of other arguments, and are, like, just taking it. Like, where did you take this from? Whose other video does this come from? Like, what is the source? Because you didn't do this highlighting yourself, right? I've seen other people do this years ago. This is something that's just been sort of, like, passed along in the community without ever acknowledging the person who originally did it. So, like, what the fuck? What is that about?
And instead is verbatim
And the thing is that Krypton could be 100% correct about everything he's saying. All of his arguments could be 1,000% like actually accurate and perfect representations of the source material, and it almost wouldn't matter at all because I have no reason to believe it because you haven't, like, established credibility. And again, it's not just him. This is the meta. This is a community meta.
Verified. And based on this, we can logically assume that it does indeed reach the necessary size of over 93 billion light years, and
what? I really don't know how we got there.
And instead is verbatim clarified. And based on this, we can logically assume that it does indeed reach the necessary size of over 93 billion light years.
Yeah, so that's another thing that people seem to struggle with. Saying that something is a logical assumption doesn't necessarily mean that it's true and reflected by evidence. Good job using semantics and quote-unquote logic. I guess it is technically just, like, mathematically logical to get from one phrasing to another phrasing. None of that matters unless you can actually demonstrate that that's backed up with evidence. And the fact of the matter is that nobody's actually scaling, like, Kaguya's universe and shit like that. If you actually, and this is also, like, part of the meta that's extremely revealing, is that these are the arguments that are being made. They're not like, hey, look at the manga, we can see this stuff in the manga, and here's, like, at least an attempt to pixel scale it, or here's a statement from a character. None of the main arguments for Universal Naruto come from the manga, and there's a good reason why, because there aren't any. There's a reason why people have to scramble and scrape the bottom of the barrel and work so fucking hard to, like, find this shit from, like, random community translations of spin-off novels and shit. It's because that's how much fucking homework you have to do to get Naruto up to this level, because he's just not there. And it requires this amount of time, effort, investment, and frankly dishonest, like, gerrymandering to try to get him to this point where he really isn't. So yeah, if somebody talks to you about something and the only evidence that they have is an incredibly obscure, like, peripheral piece of material, and they don't have any evidence from the primary material, that to me in and of itself is evidence against the argument. It's like a massive fucking self-report. Yeah, so yeah, 93 billion light years. Yeah, literally anybody, please go and actually show me diegetic evidence for Kaguya's space being 93 billion light years across. If you can do that, I'll capitulate. But until then, this is, like, logical assumption. You're just assuming things, right? It might seem internally logical, but that doesn't mean it's reflected by empirical evidence. We can't logically assume that. Yeah, I didn't, like, spend that much time even disputing the logic, but it feels like something's missing, right? Do you see what I mean, Darth Magog? Like, do you want to expand on that at all?
And thus, destroying this dimension, creating it, or scaling to it in any vein would qualify for Universal Plus under VSBW standards.
Well, the definition that he mentioned for Universal Plus before, let's take a look at it. Where are we?
In that video, I outscaled Naruto to the content.
Why is it not? I'm trying to speed it up. Okay, so Universe Level Plus, characters or objects whose power is is uncountably infinitely greater than the prior tiers. That is to say, they can significantly affect, create, and or destroy higher dimensional structures that exceed lesser objects by an uncountably infinite margin. Okay, uncountably infinite margin. So he's saying here that since Naruto can scale to Momoshiki's universe, and Momoshiki can create or destroy the universe, that Naruto would be Universal Plus, but Universal Plus means infinitely scaling higher. So that's not true either. He's not even like being consistent with his own definitions. And this is something that Key did as well. Like, you know, he starts off by saying universal, but then starts sneaking in like Universal Plus or whatever to kind of that was uncalled for. I'm sorry, Universal Plus. And basically just trying to sneak in that like additional kind of I think gerrymandering it is kind of a good way to put it, right? It's like slicing and dicing and rearranging so that, and then like stitching and collaging it back together. But no, like none of these spaces have been calced at Universal. If you think you can prove that 93.8 or whatever billion light years across is accurate, okay, good job, you've done that. Now let's, if you want to get it to Universal Plus, then we have to get it to infinite. Good luck with that. Sorry says, once when I was 7 years old, I sat on a banana, and of course that changed my life. Of course, why wouldn't it? Every banana contains within it a universe of possibilities. We all know this. You can't spell potassium without pot and ass and yum. And what more is there to say? In fact, I'm not going to say anything else about it. I'm going to move on immediately. Darth Magog says 98 billion super space horses per Blue Shift Nebula. Yes, that is a perfect scaling. I would gladly accept that scaling over anything I've seen for Naruto thus far. Those units make more sense to me.
Standards. This very same Momoshiki, who functionally generated this entire dimension, proceed to get even.
Well, that's the other thing too. It's like we talked about this last time, but even if Momoshiki did generate the space, we have no idea how he actually did it, whether he did it all at once or piecemeal, whether he used chakra pills or how many chakra pills he would have done. We're not actually talking about the narrative context for whether or not Momoshiki would do something like this in character, right? It's the same shit over and over again.
Even stronger, and Naruto would be able to clash with this very same fused Momoshiki in just his base form alone, and upon tapping...
Saying base fuse Momoshiki in base form, I guess he means like without the chakra pills. But like we don't. Well, that's the other thing too. Is like we're talking about fused Momoshiki in base form. But was Momoshiki fused with Kinshiki when he created the universe? So like, what again? Like, what exactly were the circumstances surrounding that?
6 paths, with help from Sasuke, is able to thoroughly defeat this fused Momoshiki. Keep in mind that.
Yeah, I know, right, Darth Magog? It's like there's a lot of like good artwork being done here, right? It's just a shame that it's not coming together in the end.
At this point in time, Naruto was physically...
Okay, I don't want to get into this, but I personally don't like this. Like, note Naruto is weakened here. Prove that, please. Like, actually demonstrate why he's weakened. Like, I know he's had some of his chakra drained, about half, I think. But does that mean that he's weakened? Like, how does that work exactly?
In mind that at this point in time, Naruto...
It could be the case. It could be true. But the way it's being presented is just, like, very unhelpful.
Was physically weakened, and a full power Naruto would likely be able to casually defeat this very same Momoshiki by himself.
I actually don't necessarily have a problem with that, seeing as Momoshiki, at times we see him getting pressed by like just a couple of the Gokage, and it's also mentioned that like, I mean, like Momoshiki's whole thing is he's not all that strong himself. He just uses pills to like dope himself up and get stronger. I mean, it's not subtle at all. It's extremely explicit. It's like almost, it's on the nose to almost to the point of like being ridiculous how obvious the like doping parallel thing between Momoshiki's chakra pills and Boruto's like scientific ninja tools, like how obvious that is. Not that it's a bad story element or whatever, or not that the storytelling is even bad per se. I mean, it's a shonen manga. It's okay for it to be obvious, but it's like, I mean, like Momoshiki's real strength comes from absorption and reflection and from boosting himself with external input. So even if he did create the universe in character, it's like he's getting that power from somewhere, right? So we're just missing out on this huge aspect of his character that's going unexplained.
thus definitively proving that Naruto would be able to reach universal levels of power by
Definitive is kind of wild, bro. Like, come on.
scaling to a character who literally generated
And Universal Plus, again, like, Universal Plus is dishonest because we haven't talked about any of these spaces scaling infinitely, so that's just, like, feels like it's smuggling that extra plus in there just to sound more impressive.
a full-scale fourth-dimensional universe.
Also, again, like, let's just throw in the term full-scale, full-dimensional universe. We've never scaled the universe, and, yeah, 4 dimensions in terms of time being the 4th one, sure, but, I mean, that feels like a cheap shot at the end there.
With this being said, I believe I've got my point across and I've struck a structural foundation for where I'll be scaling Naruto in this channel moving forward.
I'd be curious to see where you go next, man. Like, I think, you know, there's some positives to this video for sure. It's just, it seems like this guy kind of just absorbed a lot of bad intel, in, let's assume, in good faith, and maybe now he'll have a chance to kind of correct some of that. I don't know.
But like always, if you enjoyed the content, make sure to like and subscribe. The Discord link will be in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time.
I'm gonna stay out of the Discord, not as an insult or whatever, but just because it just, like, very rarely ever works out well for me. So I want to actually just jump right into the next video, because part of the issue here is not with any one person making a mistake or being confused. It's with the meta, right? And I'm using that term more because I actually find that it's quite helpful. So let's jump right into this video by Lonk's Takes, which Lonk's Takes actually has some good videos. I mean, like, not only are Lonk's Takes, like, very, like, well viewed, you know, it's a pretty huge fucking video, but also you know, I've seen other content that he's made that I've enjoyed, so I don't even have a problem with him specifically. I'm not going to say anything about the Dragon Ball scaling because I'm not qualified to, but I just want to jump and, like, look at some of the language that's being used in reference to Naruto and see if it actually matches up, right? So this video is called Yamcha versus Naruto is totally unfair. Another totally unfair thing. Lonk's Takes, go check out his channel, give him a like and a subscribe, watch the shit in context in case I'm missing anything. I'm probably going to speed things up a little bit, not sleep timer, what the fuck. Speed things up a little bit just to keep, you know, the pace pretty brisk. But again, watch it in context so I don't, like, leave anything out. And let's start from over here, okay? Magog says, can we also address that Krypton has failed to explain how much energy Momo's demonstrated to output? Yeah, that's another thing. One of these other videos that I'll go over talks about how Momoshiki supposedly drained, like, Momoshiki is, like, supposedly massively FTL because he drained so much chakra from his environment. But then if you actually go and look up the scan or whatever, it's referring to draining the chakra within a 24-hour period. So it's weird, like, people don't really seem to want to think about the time domain in much detail. So it's a very good point, actually. So yeah, let's go through this quickly. Again, like, this is not a takedown of Lonk or his shit, not that I'm even qualified to do that, but I just want to see if we notice any of the same trends, right? I'm trying to go through this fast because I want to do this on a few videos before we end the stream tonight. What's happening here?
Random guys. Everyone else is simply not strong. Took the combined effort of an entire army of shinobi and multiple different Kage level fighters, not to beat Madara, but simply stop him from destroying all of them with 2 big rocks. This doesn't mean I'm accusing
yeah, that's fair.
Fodder. I think even pretty average shinobi fall into the town levels of power, as even 2 low-level jonin could fight the entire Sound 4 at once.
Yeah, I like that we're talking about this.
Scaling. Still though, if you're asking, like, what about the Sound Ninja? This is why I'm not bringing them up.
I'm gonna skip this a little bit, but it's a good point.
Have nearly enough hacks to be relevant. So let's go for the stats for the.
Also, love this fucking editing. Love this. Look at how fucking beautiful this is.
10 Tails related characters and a handful of.
I don't love this part, but this shit. Look at this. Look at how fucking beautiful that is. Look at the color. Look at the framing. Like, look at the combination of, like, the animated manga elements, like the flare up of Sasori's fucking blades. It's so fucking sick. Whoever did this editing, dude, like, your shit is cracked in the best possible way. Kakazu's, like, tentacles flailing around. This shit looks so fucking crisp. I adore this. Like, unironically, it's so fucking good.
The Narutoverse. Nearing the top tier of the.
We have, like, some genuinely extremely talented artists and editors in this community that, like, I mean, if Lonk edited this himself, like, big fucking ups, big credit for doing this. If not, for the love of God and all that is holy, please credit your editors, because Like, they deserve to have their names known for this kind of work. I would fucking hire somebody based off of like that 5 seconds. I actively currently, a person who edited this, if you want work, send me a message. I will find something for you to do. I will gladly pay you pretty much whatever you want to do, like a few seconds of animation for me. I want your shit on my channel. It looks amazing. So, you know, content creators, credit the fucking people who do work for you. Holy shit. Like, help them get their name out there and shit.
Diversity of characters.
And if it's Lonk yourself, then like, hey man, big respect for that.
Tentails Madara and Hagoromo, who through the God Tree and the Moon both generated planet-busting levels of energy.
Okay, so maybe we'll. Okay, so Hagoromo creating the moon. Fuck. So the idea here is that like Hagoromo, when he created the moon, created planet-busting levels of energy, and also Madara, when he manipulated the God Tree, created planet-busting levels of energy. If you're gonna make those claims, you really need to back them up with actual calcs. Creating a moon along with your brother Hamura is different from breaking like the Earth, for example, if you're using that as your reference point. So on your own, with your own feet. So what is the context? The context of Hamura and Hagoromo working together on that jutsu was kind of left out, you know? And not to mention that, like, we're not actually seeing the calcs. Like, yeah, I get it. The God Tree supposedly spread out across the entire world, but the God Tree itself has its own extremely powerful life force, like, within it. This is made pretty abundantly clear. Even the Ghetto Mazo itself has like abundant life force and shit like that. So what exactly are we talking about when we say that the Ghetto Mazo spread, or like the tree spread its roots throughout the planet? How much of the crust was it puncturing? Was it wrapping around the exterior of the world? Was it going through the core? Like, we need more data. We need an actual calc here, and it's not being provided. So again, I think people have a tendency to be like, wait a minute, moon is like a small planet level, planet busting confirmed, or like drilling through the planet with the God Tree really fast, planet level confirmed. No, like, really need more context here.
This is pretty consistent with objectively weaker characters who are still high tier, like Biju, having calcs for their attacks being anywhere from a large island level to multi-continental.
Okay, and again, like, I am starting to get pretty pissed about people saying like this is consistent with that, therefore it's true. It can be consistent, but if you're not actually demonstrating the veracity of the thing itself, that doesn't matter. Like, it's worth mentioning for sure. Like, absolutely build up consistency, build up context, and like try to use other things in context to girder and support your points, but it's not going to help you at all unless you actually establish the validity of the first thing that you're talking about. If you're going to throw out terms like continental, like multi-continental, country level Biju bombs, you need to provide a calc for that as well. And we all know that the multi-continental Biju bomb shit, if anything, it's referring specifically to the Ten Tails Biju bomb. And the calc that we've talked about previously on this stream is when he blows up the Allied Shinobi HQ. But even that, you know, I've seen like brought down to country level. And if that's the biggest one we see, then it's more honest to say that maybe the Ten Tails gets up to country level. But saying that, like, saying Biju bombs are multi-continental and then showing the individual Biju bombs from individual Biju is dishonest. Like, you're misrepresenting what actually happened by trying to associate a visual of this from an individual Biju as being multi-continental instead of showing the actual multi-continental feat. And also, if you're not going to show a calc and show the evaluation page and show that it's been accepted, then it's like really not helpful at all.
This is also supported by statements that imply that the Nine Tails could cause worldly destruction.
I'm also getting pretty sick and tired of people like seeing this and taking it seriously. Again, this is an issue of reading comprehension, a lack of curiosity, and a lack of putting things into context. It's actually pretty embarrassing that so many people like just like unironically use this like as a way of saying that like Kurama is planetary. Again, like it blows my mind that I have to explain this, or that like people don't understand that this statement here doesn't fit in at all with what we see in the manga. This character who's supposedly capable of easily turning the world to ash, like, got beat up by Konoha, like got put in his place by Konoha, got like put in his place by Madara, you know. Not to mention that none of the abilities that even like the Ten Tails is stronger than Kurama, but the Ten Tails' strongest ability that we see is like him blowing up. It is a multi-continental ability, supposedly. Okay, that supposedly multi-continental ability doesn't even like crack into the Earth's core by a fucking long shot. It maybe punctures a little bit, of the crust, but even the high end like ability, like combo jutsu between like all the Tsutsuki members, or like Indra, Haguro, fucking Hashirama, and Naruto, don't even like they barely chip the surface of the planet. So if you're seriously unironically looking at this and being like Kurama's planetary, you're just completely ignoring the context of the fact that Kurama can't fucking do this in the manga. It's much more reasonable to say like, okay, Kurama is presented as a, and like he's not even referred to Kurama as here as sorry, he's not even referred to as Kurama here because this is from the third data book. He doesn't even have his name yet, right? So at this point, Kurama is just being presented as a demonic like force of nature, as still like a natural disaster, as a force of hatred, and so he has this reputation, this legend associated with him, where like, yeah, if he were allowed to run rampant across the world and nobody opposed him, he could burn down civilization, he could burn down the world, he could destroy everything. But that doesn't mean he can crack the fucking planet. And this is another major issue that we have with power scaling, is like the desire or proclivity, I guess, to take power scaling terms and jam them in where they don't belong. Well, look, it says world, turn the world to ash. Wait a minute, that sounds like a planetary feat. I guess he's outputting planetary levels of energy. Look at what he actually fucking does on the manga. Look at what his role actually is in the story and the context surrounding him, and it doesn't make any goddamn sense. It like literally doesn't fit even remotely at all with what we see in the manga. So again, we will see more people use this fucking panel. People keep using this over and over again with zero curiosity and zero context, and that is the real problem.
Over time. So characters vastly stronger than him being far more casually planetary makes sense.
And again, characters unquantifiably, vaguely, quote-unquote, vastly stronger than him being stronger than him is a tautology, and yeah, that's true, but that doesn't mean that like that's more of this kind of like schmearing, right? Well, look, this character is quote-unquote planet level, so it's not all that crazy that somebody way stronger than him would be in a way higher tier. It might be because all that is just vague. There's no actual precise information for us to go off of there. It's just basically giving ourselves an excuse not to do the calc and not to do more research. Like, this seems reasonable at first glance, but it's not actually being supported by real evidence.
Within this time period, there are only a handful of characters that even exceed this tier, notably
Beautiful animation there. I think that's from Naruto Mobile.
Naruto, Kakashi, Sasuke, and of course Kaguya. Now, Kaguya's creation and
I'm getting really tired of hearing Kaguya, but okay.
potential recreation of her time space has been absolutely argued to death. Some people say it's not even planetary, while others say this justifies a multiversal tiering for the character.
Okay, multiversal is fucking insane, but we've we've gone over that before. But to the point, like, yeah, I mean, look, if we accept what Zetsu says, and we accept that this planet is comparable to Earth, and we accept that the light source, in this place is actually a real star, if you accept those things, then it's not unreasonable to say that, like, Kaguya is quote-unquote star level, but like we need to actually establish what the size of the star is, what the size of the planet is, because otherwise it's like just a semantic calc, right? It's just like it fits this particular term, but we don't actually have any data on how big that is. So something that you could do is you could like look at the size of the ETSO and then look at how it compares to like the size of these chakra tendril things, and then compare that to the size of Kaguya or something like that, right? So if we assume that I don't know how to do the math for this, but if we assume that this is like a mile high, which it's almost certainly not, but let's assume that's a mile high, and then like 1 pixel would be equivalent to the size of Kaguya. Now, that doesn't really make sense, but just as one way of doing it, then like this thing would be like what, 1,000 Kaguyas high or something. I don't fucking know, right? Like, just try to come up with some kind of relative measurement. Like, let's pretend, for example, that this little dot here is Kaguya, and then this is the big chakra pillar thing. Okay, then we could get this to be like, I don't know, if let's pretend she's 10 meters tall, and this is 10 times as tall. I don't know, that's 100 meters, and so this is about maybe 10 of these, so it's like 1,000 meters radius, and then you can extrapolate the volume of the sphere from that. That's something you could go off of, and then we have a statement that, like, you know, the regular TSOs are strong enough to blow up a forest or something like that. I think that scan will come up later. Okay, so then extrapolate, like, let's call that like small country level or something like that. Let's call that island level, and then just say, so a sphere that has a volume of like 1x is small country level, and then this has like a volume of 1,000,000x, so it'll be 1,000,000 times stronger. That you could do something like that. Like I just made up all those numbers, of course, but like there's a way of at least trying to get that estimate. Nobody seems to want to do that for whatever reason. Nobody seems to want to actually like look into that calc. Nobody seems to want to look at like, okay, well, we can kind of see the curvature of the planet here. We can kind of estimate how far above we are over the ground. If we assume a neutral like camera angle, like no zoom in or anything like that, we can get a vague estimate of how big this planet is, and then extrapolate. Like I don't really see anybody doing that. They're just like, well, this is the universe, so it's a universe, so fuck it. It's got a star, it's got a planet, so it's a solar system, fuck it. It's this like fuck it attitude towards everything of just whatever, dude, I can clear a point. I can say that this is likely. I can get through the argument. Fine, congratulations. You managed to convince some people by getting through your argument at the expense of ever actually understanding the shit that you're talking about, at the expense of misleading people and yourself because you didn't actually fucking care enough to do the real research to genuinely understand it. I would actually much more prefer the answer to be like, hey, we don't know. That's actually an okay answer, or we're not sure, or this could be, but it's not definitive. That's a fine answer. But this shit, nah. I know he's like quoting people, so I'm not even attacking him, but like whoever he's referencing is like not caring enough.
As a reminder, there is no single objective way to scale.
Oh yeah, low ballers versus high ballers. How about the people who are actually just trying to genuinely understand the shit? Why does everything have to be like characterized as a fight between people who are artificially inflating or artificially deflating the shit? Why don't we just like trying to genuinely understand it? Like what the fuck is wrong with everybody?
Character. There is simply interpreting evidence with scrutiny. Would that be?
Yeah, interpreting evidence with scrutiny, sure, but we have to actually do that right.
Said, I think the high tiers in Shippuden are at most solar system level based off this feat. Still.
Yeah, that's an extreme highball.
So if you want to use the multiversal scaling, keep in mind I could go and say that second form Frieza is universal. But
yeah, this is actually a really good example. I like that he included this, right? He wields enough terrifying power to destroy the entire universe. Exactly. People will... This is exactly what people do. And I like the fact that he is willing to admit that and like understand that from his own perspective, but he's just like flirting with that so heavily in the description that he's doing here. We should all be aware of the existence of this panel and all be aware. Like, here's the thing. If you recognize why this is such a fucking problem, why this kind of scaling, why this statement can't be used reliably for scaling, just apply that knowledge and perspective and that understanding to multiversal or universal Naruto arguments. Just apply this to universal and it like debunks the like 99% of the universal arguments, because 99% of the arguments that you're going to hear are just people doing shit like this, just sort of like facetiously using like these sorts of like manipulation, so to speak.
But I don't. Anyways, well, no one is outright stronger than
manipulation is too strong, you know what I mean.
Kage.
Magog says, say what you will about Death Battle, they do those calcs. Okay, I apparently need to check that that channel out, because I feel like they have actually done a pretty good job of or like they have a pretty good reputation. Like I've heard multiple people mention that, so I will check them out.
Yeah.
I will say, for what it's worth, Krypton did respond to a very lengthy piece of feedback that I gave him, and he was pretty polite and actually thanked me for the feedback. So shout out Krypton for actually being a bro. Like the fact that he was willing to actually like respond without like getting pissed and actually say thank you and be nice, I think bodes very well, and it, unfortunately is an extreme rarity. So I just saw the notification on my phone. I just wanted to say thank you, Krypton, for like being decent, and I hope that genuinely that if you see this video and if you like get something out of my feedback, that you feel that it's like a positive thing that you can learn from. Like, not to sound too arrogant about it, but I'm definitely not trying to like belittle or anything. I'm just trying to point out the issues that I see with the community meta, and I hope that you find that beneficial as opposed to like insulting or anything like that. But it, you know, I appreciate the positive interaction genuinely. We need more of that. So yeah. Sorry, I said I'll never. Oh no, I'll never accept Death Battle for the nonsense they said with Link and Cloud. Oh, Link has generations of experience. What are you smoking? According to Ultimania Supernova Asian. Okay, well, I clearly am lacking some context here, but yeah. Oh, they went back and fixed it. Okay, well, now I'm gonna have to see that in context because I'm very, very curious. Yeah, let's keep going.
Being similar in speed and
I'm gonna try to get through this video and one more.
The capacity to damage her means that some characters are at least fractionally comparable to her. As for
That's fine. I got no problem with that.
Speed, the Naruto versus high tiers are relativistic or vaguely faster
Well, now I start to have a fucking problem.
than light, but unfortunately, unlike Dragon Ball, they are much harder to solidly quantify. The best
That is true. Okay, so like, okay, now we start to get into it, right? You know how I feel about Lightspeed Naruto, but again, here the reason why I wanted to bring up this video is because look, it's the same meta, right? It's a different person, it's a different perspective. He's not making all the same mistakes that Noodles or Key or anybody else is making, except look at the meta here. Look at the meta approach here, right? So we have 3 scans that are being shown. The scans themselves do not have references or citations, so we have no idea where they come from as of yet, although I think he does clarify in a second where a couple of them come from. We only have a translation for one of them, and that translation has no citation, no credit for the translator. This particular translation is different from other ones that I've seen. No establishment of why, or establishing rather, of why this translation should be taken over others, and no discussion of the validity or like inherent reliability of the data books. It's just assumed. So again, assumptions, lack of credit, lack of context. Let's read this translation. Light speed bullets gathered from water, they come from a blind spot and gore the enemy. Okay, how do we know this isn't hyperbole? How do we know this is supposed to be taken literally? Where is the breakdown and explanation of this? Depending on the methods of use, such as launching an attack from underfoot to avert the opponent's attention, the field of strategies will expand far and wide. I mean, the language here seems pretty competent, seems like a decent translation, so I'm not trying to slander the translator. But I mean, again, this is not enough, right? And we don't have the translations for either of these two things. I'll spare you going back into the Light Fang explanation. You guys know that I don't think that this is actually a light speed attack, but whatever. Kirin is like, people saying Kirin is light speed is also embarrassing because it's like one of the most fucking thoroughly established, most obvious, most straight up, obviously lightning speed things in the entire series. It's not ambiguous, it's not difficult to understand. It is like so fucking clear cut that it is literally just lightning. That's the whole fucking point. People are like, well, technically he changes the shape of it, so I mean, like, that must mean that he's putting more chakra into it to make it faster. No, it's fucking lightning. He's taming lightning and he makes it look different because it looks cool. It's lightning. It's natural lightning. That's all it fucking is. It's so bizarre to me that people actually try to make this light speed. That doesn't make any sense at all. It's completely at odds with what's in the manga. But again, not necessarily Lonk's fault because this information is just out there in the ether. It's just there in the air, man. This is the meta. This is what we've all swallowed and keep up regurgitating to our fellow baby birds in the community, is this slop. So, I mean, do we really blame Lonk for it and get down his throat about it? Or do we say, how did we all get here together as a community and try to push each other to get above it? I think the second one. I think we can hold each other accountable while still trying to be like direct and firm, but also like fair, and try to be a little empathetic that this is like a mistake that everybody is making for some fucking reason. Everything is hyperbolic, to be clear.
the verse has
Or when I say everybody, I don't mean literally everybody.
that there are several light speed jutsu that characters at one point or another are capable of dodging or at least reacting to. And then
Yeah, the water fang bullet shouldn't be on this fucking page at all. If you're confused about Kirin because people are weird about it, okay. If you're confused about Light Fang because people are weird about it, the Light Fang is the strongest one. But again, like, show the translation, show the credibility of it. None of this counts.
then they get stronger by an unknown amount by the end. So it's hard
Okay, if it's an unknown amount, then like, what does it matter, right? If you're not going to try to quantify it or put that into context, why even bring it
to
up?
say they are something like hundreds, thousands, or millions of times faster than the
Absolutely fucking not. Like literally think about what that means for a character to be. People just throw out statements like this without actually thinking about the implications of it. What does it actually mean to be physically faster than we think, like millions of times faster than we think it's possible to even move at all in our universe? What does that actually mean? What would the universe actually look like? How would characters act and talk? What would be the ramifications? Put this into context. People don't want to do it. They just throw out the terms because it benefits the video and then they move on. But this doesn't make any sense in context at all. It's fucking ridiculous.
the speed of light with any sort of confidence. Of course, there's hacks, but honestly, I just have one question. Of all the hacks in Naruto, which ones can actually reasonably stop someone who's both way faster
Okay, so now he starts to get into like talking about Yamcha again, and he's basically like, wait, hang on, what? I'm not even gonna touch that. The Yamcha scaling is not something I really feel qualified to talk about, but basically he just talks about like let's see the Kaguya stuff over here real quick.
networks? This is does, and Genjutsu directly works through manipulating these networks.
Oh yeah, so he's talking about like the Tsukuyomi here. It's not really relevant to what I want to talk about.
Necessarily have traditional and hard to pull off. Not only does it need a full forehand in order to stall, further only turning into
yeah. So the idea is that Yamcha might be able to be. I think he establishes, like, again, I'm not going to dispute it. He establishes that you know, Yamcha is probably like way stronger and faster than Naruto. If you agree with that, then the only way that Naruto characters could potentially like get around that would be like with a mind hack, and he's or something like a genjutsu, but he's kind of disputing the validity of how if that would work in the Dragon Ball universe. So that's fine. I don't really need to argue that. I just want to point out those meta strategies again, right? Because here's another person with a different channel, different format, different take, you know, completely different matchup, but we're making the same mistakes. And we're going to move on quickly to the next things. I have to find the one that I was actually watching the other day. Maybe talk about Virtue's video in a second. Where's the one? I think I would have left a comment. One way of me. Oh yeah, this is. Did I actually talk? Yeah. Okay. So maybe we do this one first, because apparently I watched this a little while ago. And then let's see. This one I don't think I did yet. We're not gonna have time to get through all of these tonight, obviously. But I'm just looking for the ones that I commented on. Okay, and then this one, don't even... And it's not even going to talk about that tonight. Okay, so, yeah, let's just pop into one of these random videos. I'll never... Sorry says I'll never accept Death Battle. Yeah, we talked about that. I know they fixed that, but they were even worse about the Zelda lore. Oh, that kind of sucks. They did Cloud Justice, kinda, but they were so... But they were so dismissive of Zelda lore and its lore books. Oh, that kind of sucks. If they're not putting things into context and just kind of like being rude about it, then yeah, fuck that. Megok says, fair, their Charizard versus Agumon was pretty rock solid though. Oh, that's cool. I haven't thought about Digimon in a long time. I should go check that out. Sorry, it says I only watched it after I heard Ash started throwing hands. That's kind of awesome. I'm expecting Ash to punch Yugi as well. Yeah, I would pay money to see that that bout. Megok says Ash probably will, though he doesn't stand a ghost of a chance against Yami. You're entering into territory that I'm not as familiar with, but take your word for it, and I will go check it out at some point. Okay, so this video is by Winter Kage, How Strong is Naruto Really? Again, it's been a while since I've seen this video, so I'm going to skim through it. Please make sure that you check out the video in context. At this point, we're really just looking to see if some of the same mistakes are being made, what some of the same strategies are, and stuff like that. So, again, this is more of a critique and a awareness of the meta than it is a critique or attack of this person. But, I mean, like, look... like... I'm sorry, Winner, like, you were friendly. Oh, wait, no, we didn't actually talk, sorry. But, like I don't have anything against you as a person. But, like, let's just do the peer review, okay? We can get through it.
Fight for peace, others for revenge, but Naruto Uzumaki, he became something far beyond a ninja. The man himself, Naruto Uzumaki, has fought godlike beings who could warp entire universes and drain the life force out of a planet.
Okay, yeah, so already we're off to a rough start, because, like, destroy entire universes, that better be qualified or quantified. Drain the life force out of a planet with a tree over time. Let's hope that doesn't get used as, like, a one-shot feat or anything like that. We'll see.
So today we're diving into how strong is Naruto Uzumaki and is he universal? So starting off by speed, Naruto as a kid was approaching light speed, as it was stated in the data.
Okay, let's see what argument's being used here. Stated in the data books, but again, we have no source for this. This is Haku's shit. Left, and again, this is the same thing for Narutoversity, except we have no credit here. Actually, this translation seems a little different from what I remember, but like the reflecting nothing but Haku. I don't remember that specific phrasing. Yeah, abominable and tremendous ability. I don't remember that specific phrasing. So maybe it's not from Narutoversity, but it's uncredited and it's out of context. Does this actually happen? What actually happens in the fight? No context, right? So I wouldn't consider this admissible at all.
Data books that Haku could move at light speed when moving between mirrors, and
no establishing of like the data books being valid or whatever.
Naruto in one-tailed cloak was able to outspeed and outpower Haku. Also, Naruto's rival Sasuke was able to perceive and react to Haku's attacks despite having a fodder-level Sharingan.
Little funny typo here with the Sharingan. Yeah, sure. Fodder level is a little bit slanderous, but okay. Yeah, they were able to react to him, but I don't think we've established the light speed. We're not going to rehash the Haku arguments. Please feel free to check out the streams if you haven't seen the ones where I talk about the Haku fight.
Not to mention that Haku was no ordinary shinobi, as he scaled up to high Jonin level. He definitely did not get a whole lot stronger or faster in OG Naruto after this, but in Shippuden, he got way faster and stronger after training with Jiraiya.
Naruto himself, sure, yeah.
Also based Naruto and
Well, I don't know. I think that's a bit of an assumption, but whatever. I'm looking for the meta stuff mostly.
Shippuden was able to keep up with Kakashi, and Kakashi was stated to have cut lightning itself.
Yeah, but again, like, this statement is being presented out of context. We don't actually have a description of the feat or how it happens. We talked about that before, but again, lack of context.
Also, Kakashi did get stronger and faster post-time skip, so he should have been a lot faster than lightning while fighting Naruto.
Well, him cutting lightning doesn't have anything to do with him actually outspeeding lightning. So again, like, it's that thing that gets passed around the community just out of context.
After Sage Mode, he defeated Pain and had long surpassed Kakashi and Jiraiya in terms of physical attributes like speed and power, so
Probably.
he should have been faster.
But again, I'm looking for meta stuff here, so I'm gonna skip over. I'm not gonna dispute every single thing in this video. I'm just looking for the meta stuff.
Than light by then. Later on in the War arc, KCM1 Naruto was able to surpass the Raikage in terms of speed, and the Raikage was stated to be the faster shinobi.
Well, it's stated to be, but does that mean that he actually is? Like, let's do feats or statements, okay?
Back it up, Laria is an attack which requires a user to move at light speed and even
It's not at light speed, right? While rushing. I mean, like, here's the thing, right? He says at light speed, but the fucking scan that he's using says almost at the speed of light. So the evidence that he highlighted in red, took out of context, didn't credit the translator for, and is putting in the middle of the screen like this, it literally disagrees with what he's saying. Almost something and the thing itself are two different things. So the source material, in addition to being used in a very clunky way, is also being misquoted actively on screen. And again, like, this is not Winner's fault per se. It's the meta, right?
even Killer B could use it. The fourth Raikage was widely
is widely considered to be the fastest shinobi. Where the fuck did this come from? Is this some chat GPT stuff? Why is this cropped? Why is this credible?
considered to be the fastest shinobi after Minato passing, so he should
Considered by whom? Like, is that consideration accurate?
have been faster than light. Also, KCM1 Naruto did not have access to most of Kurama's chakra, and he wasn't using Sage Mode, which can be up to a 10 times multiplier in terms of physical strength and power.
Okay, here's the thing. The curse mark is a 10 times amplifier for certain characters who have the curse mark. That doesn't mean Sage Mode itself is a 10 times amplifier. I heard somebody else have a video like this where he said, like, every single tail, like, multiplies Naruto's power by a factor of 10 or something like that. And, like, no, you have to actually demonstrate that. It's a very creative interpretation, but I don't think that precise math really works at all.
After achieving KCM2, he got way faster since he got full control over half of Kurama's chakra, meaning he's a lot faster than light in KCM2.
Faster than light? No. Faster than he was previously? Sure.
On top of that, if he added Sage Mode, he should have been easily over 10 times the speed of light.
Well, again, like, why 10 times specifically? Where's the actual scaling?
To mention that he was able to keep up with top tiers like Obito and Madara, and had surpassed Itachi and Minato by then. Later on, after
Probably.
attaining Oromo's 6-path power, Naruto was able to go on par with Madara and dodge his light fangs, which was easily over light speed. He's
Easily over light speed. Even if you think that, like, the Madara light fang thing is actually light speed, dodging it, you would just need to be, like, slightly over light speed. And if Naruto has any amount of, like, reaction time when he sees the attack coming in and he can aim dodge it, then really he just has to be as fast as the speed of light to get out of the way. So no.
MFTL in 6-path form is 17, and in
Okay, MFTL means massively faster than light, so you need to qualify what massively means there.
So he got way stronger and faster since he's able to keep up with Otsutsuki clan. Not to mention that he's pushing 35, which is a man's prime.
I'm not even going to touch that one, but, like, the Otsutsuki clan thing, like, okay, you need to scale them for that to be relevant.
At last, in Baryon mode, he was even too fast for
What the fuck was that?
Otsutsuki clan.
I saw that. Pushing 35.
At last,
Citation fucking needed.
Baryon mode, he
I'm sorry, Barry on. Okay, so this is some, like, auto-generated shit, right? Okay, understood. Barry on.
he was even too fast for adult Sasuke to perceive. Mind
Citation needed.
you, Sasuke as a little kid was able to see and react to Haku's light speed attacks.
In that panel itself, he's not actually doing that. The only attack that Haku ever uses that is demonstrably light speed, maybe, if you accept that databook statement, is this. And this is the, like, if you're going to argue that Haku is light speed, this is the strongest piece of evidence you have as, like, a diegetic, like, primary source example. And Sasuke very explicitly doesn't perceive this happening. Haku winds up expending chakra later in the fight, Some people think that means that he slows down. Sasuke only starts to perceive him doing this way later when he activates his Sharingan. So this is actually like the worst possible example from the fight to try to use to establish that.
And adult Sasuke is considered to be somewhere relative to Naruto, despite all that Sasuke couldn't dodge or react to Shiki's chakra rods and was turned into a surfboard. And
It's turned into a surfboard is really funny, I gotta admit.
Naruto was way faster than Ishiki and caught the chakra rods with no effort. So
In Baryon mode, yeah.
in Baryon mode, Naruto is easily MFTL plus.
MFTL plus is, okay, you're just like adding letters and numbers, or letters and, so we went from FTL to MFTL with no quantification of what MFTL means, and now it's MFTL plus. What exactly does the plus mean exactly? Like, how much further does the plus scale you over the M, and what does the M even mean? Again, like, this is kind of like lazy, apathetic, throwing out terms just to like try to hoodwink or try to make things sound more impressive without any actual real quantification, qualification, or contextual relevance.
As for how strong is Naruto and is he universal, let's take a look at Naruto's feats against Kaguya. Starting off, Kaguya had warped the entire Naruto universe, which is a universal feat.
Okay, so warping an entire universe needs to be defined. Warping doesn't necessarily mean a universal feat, but again, we've heard this argument before, right? It's the same shit. We're like, well, she must have moved the entire universe out of the way to make room for her universe. Again, not something that's ever supported by the actual manga itself.
She also created 6 dimensions and had the
And like, we're not actually seeing the evidence for that. So where exactly is that described? What's the evidence for that, please?
ability to destroy the model like shown in the panel.
I'm sorry. I know that this is like petty, but
She also created 6 dimensions and had the
ability to destroy the mole. The ability to destroy the mole? What the fuck are you talking about, bro? What mole did she destroy? What fucking shrew is she going after with her reality warping nuke? She's just using them to like get the rodents and vermin out of her fucking garden, out of her seed bed. That's what I guess, I guess that metaphor actually kind of works, funny enough. But like the thing is, like, I actually personally in my headcanon, I got no problem with Kaguya creating each of her dimensions. That's fine. But like, in terms of power scaling videos and debates and shit like that, you actually have to show that. The only evidence that we have is that she is going to break down and remake her roots time space and thus make it into a new time space. But that doesn't apply to any of the other dimensions until you actually show that. So like, we don't actually know that she did create those dimensions. We just know that she is intending to destroy and remake this dimension. Is it within her power? Potentially, sure. Do we actually have any evidence that she did it? Not directly. It's an inference, which is not entirely crazy or anything, but it's not something that's supported with direct evidence. It's like a prediction that's fine, but it's sketchy for something of this level of precision, right?
like shown in the panel. It says that it's a start of a new time space.
I want to know what the fuck he's saying, though.
She also created 6 dimensions and had the ability to destroy the model like shown in the panel.
I don't understand what is shown in the panel. One second.
She also created 6 dimensions and had the ability to destroy the model like shown in the panel.
The Moloch? Do you guys know what he's saying? I don't understand what like the Moloch shown in the panel is. The monologue? I'm really genuinely trying. I don't know what he's talking about there. The Moloch destroyed in the panel.
It says that it's a start of a new time space. This indicates that
I think that the voice has to be AI generated, right? Not trying to be rude or anything, but it just the enunciation, the way that the voice sounds, it's just a little off. I don't know how to describe it.
could create a space-time out of nothing.
She didn't actually create it out of nothing. Again, there's no evidence being provided here. It's just like, yeah, like citation needed.
Naruto also took off Kaguya's arm at 17. If that's not
It doesn't matter how fucking old he is. Who gives a shit?
enough, Naruto was exchanging blows with Kaguya and even overwhelmed her.
Sure. Okay. How strong is she?
Another thing is that Momoshiki is blatantly stated to be stronger than Kaguya, as Kaguya
Where?
needed hundreds of thousands of Zetsu clones in order to fight Momoshiki.
Okay, that's not really true either. I don't know that Kaguya ever knew who the fuck Momoshiki was specifically as a person. She thought that the Otsutsuki clan were going to eventually show up and come get her, right? But as far as she know, it could have been one person, it could have been two. Like, I have seen no direct evidence that she knows which Otsutsuki members are coming for her. And like, yeah, she's building up an army of white Zetsu in order to fight against whatever people come at her. But again, like, it's not Momoshiki himself that shows up. It's Momoshiki plus Kinshiki plus some arbitrary number of like chakra pills that he brings with him. And think about what an actual like anti-feat this is. Those white Zetsu are not particularly impressive for somebody who's like potentially universe level to be threatened by a few 100,000 white Zetsu. Wouldn't that just be an anti-feat for like Momoshiki's strength? Can you actually imagine Momoshiki like losing to 100,000 white Zetsu? I don't know. It seems really weird to me. Or even a million of them. Like what defensive capabilities do they have? What is the take the actual AP and DC of an individual white Zetsu and then just like imagine fucking like the third Raikage who fought against 10,000 shinobi or whatever going up against that force, and then compare that performance to like base Momoshiki, especially since Momoshiki's power comes from absorbing and reflecting jutsu. How does that fight go down? Isn't that just like a massive Momoshiki slander to suggest that he's vulnerable to this?
There is a good possibility that Kaguya, after eating the chakra fruit, could probably take down base Momoshiki, but not fuse Momoshiki.
I mean, like, yeah, that's absolutely.
Because even though Naruto and Sasuke could not take out fuse Momoshiki by themselves.
Well, they did though. That's the thing. They did take him down. They took him down and they had him dead to rights and they could have killed him, but then fucking Katasuke showed up and he like spammed all those jutsu and Momoshiki absorbed them and then fired them back and got the better hand. So yeah, this is not true. They could absolutely have defeated him by themselves. But also keep in mind that like they didn't actually kill Kaguya. They didn't defeat her outright. They sealed her. So it was Naruto and Sasuke with 6 paths sealing jutsu and DMS Kakashi and Sakura, and DMS Kakashi had like Obito's soul and chakra or whatever inside of him. So it's all of those characters just barely managed to seal Kaguya, let alone like outright defeat her. So I mean the scaling here is not 1-to-1.
But the exception here is that Naruto had half his chakra drained by Momoshiki and was still on par with him.
I don't know what this like white eye, the blue eye thing is supposed to be, but yeah, sure.
We know that chances are if Naruto had all his chakra, he put up a very close fight against Momoshiki.
Yeah, I don't. That's fine.
Momoshiki was also a high.
Like I think probably Naruto 1-on-1 with Momoshiki, like starting fresh, going all out, he'd probably be fine.
High rank with Tsuki compared to Kage.
But well, I don't know because yeah, I don't know. It depends on what version of the story that you look at, right? Because Momoshiki does like in one version of the story he manages to, like severely burn fucking Sasuke's skin and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think that they're probably about even.
As Amado stated that Kage was.
Okay, I like it that he actually pronounced Amado correctly. Amado Sanzu and Borju stated that Kage. Okay, what is this fucking like Chat GPT stuff? Why are you using this instead of reading the manga?
It was also stated that Momoshiki had created a pair.
Okay, we see this again. No source for this. No credit for the translation. Term parallel universe is not qualified.
And Naruto with half his chakra and power had speed blitz and knocked down Momoshiki many times. And we know.
Okay, actually have to establish that it's a speed blitz, not just throw that term out there.
For sure that Naruto would wipe the floor with Momoshiki if he used Baryon mode, and it wouldn't even be close.
Yeah, that's fine.
The reason is because Jigen effortlessly beat Naruto and Sasuke with them being their full power and chakra, and Ishiki was stated to be far stronger than himself in Jigen form. And Naruto in Baryon mode completely stomped the shit out of Ishiki in a limited time, and Ishiki was a higher rank with Tsuki, meaning he was stronger than Kage and Momoshiki.
I don't know if that's true. Like, is it necessarily the case that just because you're like higher rank, like you're higher up the social caste or whatever, that you're necessarily stronger? I mean, like Kaguya did beat Ishiki, although I think it's implied that she caught him off guard, right? Or even like Amado might have explicitly stated that if I remember correctly. So maybe Ishiki is stronger than Kaguya. It's possible. I don't really have a problem with that, but also I'd like more explanation on like the caste system, I guess. Sorry, it says just to play devil's advocate, maybe the white Zetsu that would have been made for the shinobi in the world of dreams, they would have been stronger. That's possible, yeah. I mean, like, I'm going off of the white Zetsu that we see. Yeah, you know, that's actually a really good point. Sorry, yeah. I'm going off of the white Zetsu that we see during the war, but those white Zetsu are just clones that are made from the tree. They're not actually, like, real OG white Zetsu, right? They're like, the result of Madara or Kabuto, I forget, like whoever's experiments, like fucking with the tree and cloning Hashirama. So they're not like first generation new white Zetsu made out of recently absorbed shinobi. So I guess if you could rephrase it as like Kaguya is reappropriating the combat potential of all the shinobi in the world, and she needs that amount of power to combat the Otsutsuki, and then that like reframes things. So I actually like your interpretation better there.
So whether you like it or not, Naruto is easily beating Momoshiki and Kaguya in Baryon mode.
Well, I don't know. The whether you like it or not shit is completely unhelpful and unnecessary, but like I don't know about that, because if he goes up against, I don't think he'd have a problem like beating Momoshiki in a taijutsu clash, but also I don't know if like he only gets to stay in Baryon mode for a couple of minutes, and he doesn't have any way of getting out of like Kaguya's dimensions, like Amino Minaka or whatever. So if Kaguya wanted to win via BFR battlefield removal, and she just dumped him in like the ice dimension and then left, unless Naruto catches her before she does that, then he's kind of fucked. So I don't think that's a given. Power wise, like taijutsu, sure, but in terms of winning overall, IDK.
As for Ishiki, we know that Ishiki beats Naruto.
Why is he like that? What the fuck? Why does he look like that? He looks like Ishiki's drunk uncle.
One-on-one, as we saw Ishiki
Who the fuck is that? That's not Ishiki.
turn Naruto into a trampoline.
I do like this guy's sense of humor though, like riding him as a surfboard, and then turning him into a trampoline. This guy's got a good sense of humor. I like that.
As long as he has Baryon mode, he outskills every Otsutsuki. So
Probably.
power scaling Naruto is easily high universal at the
Okay, high. What the fuck does high universal mean exactly? You're just throwing out another term like that with no definition. So no.
very least. And in Baryon
Very least, excuse me.
mode, I'd say he's low multiversal.
I'm sorry. How do we get to multiversal? What? How the fuck did we even get to multiversal? Again, that's another term just thrown out there. Multiple universes that scale to ours. Is that what that means? Where's the definition? Where's the source? Where's the calc?
Naruto is easily high universal at the very least. And in Baryon mode, I'd say he's low multiversal. In the movie Naruto, the last Naruto created a crater in the moon without even using Kurama's power, and that was just the impact of the punch.
So?
In the movie Naruto, the last Naruto created a crater in the moon
Well, technically speaking, he is using KCM, right? He's using KCM 2 plus Sage Mode. He just concentrated all of his power onto his fist right there. Also, this doesn't contain like a description of Tonari's durability. He might just not be that durable. Yes, Kurama, his physical body is outside of Naruto. Like he's a projection of Kurama's fighting the golem, but also Naruto like is actively using KCM cloak in his punch there. So that's like not true.
without even using Kurama's power.
And like, okay, what the fuck is this from? Where is this from? What is this supposed to be from exactly? Because the last happens at the end of the this fucking red arrow doesn't do anything, my dude. Like, I don't know what you think you're doing here. Is this from like a manga adaptation of the movie or something? Because the movie happens at the end of the series. This looks like the Sand Village. Hang on a sec. No, I don't want to spend too much time debunking this, but like, cool, you're pointing to a crater on the moon. Are you saying that this is something that we see in the Boruto manga after the last? Like, you really need to like show your sources, my dude.
And that was just the impact of the punch. Toneri Otsutsuki was also able to split a moon with zero effort.
Zero effort is not true. He used a fucking extremely impressive jutsu, so that's cap.
It was also stated that Nine Tails could destroy
And again with this fucking shit, I'm not even going to repeat myself here.
the entire Naruto world, which is a planetary feat.
It literally isn't, because planetary doesn't mean, like, think about what Kurama would actually do. He'd be rampaging around the surface of the earth and burning down villages and destroying, like, the land masses, right? So even if he did that, that doesn't mean he's, like, breaking the planet apart in and of itself.
Also, Hagoromo Otsutsuki.
Interesting that nobody ever brings up like sekai, meaning like society, in this context, where it would be perfect. Where's the kanji breakdown there, guys?
Stated that Nine Tails could destroy the entire Naruto world, which is a planetary feat.
It isn't. You haven't demonstrated that at all.
Also, Hagoromo Otsutsuki created an entire moon to seal Kaguya.
He and his brother did, so this is dishonest as well.
Naruto caps out at planetary or moon level, like a lot of people say.
Yeah, there is. There's plenty of ways in which he does. I mean, you're right. He doesn't cap out there because he doesn't get anywhere near there.
Even low-level characters like Jiraiya and Tsunade were stated to have the capability to destroy nations.
Citation fucking needed, sir.
All these feats easily put him at a universal to low multiversal.
Low multiversal is cap as well. There's no citation for that whatsoever.
So the next time someone tells you that Naruto is just a ninja, he's clashed with beings who have godlike abilities. He's definitely the strongest in the big three.
Oh, and so that's where we start to get a little bit that's where we start to reveal what the purpose of this is, right? You start to wonder, like, why people are doing this. Why are they putting so much goddamn effort? Why are they embarrassing themselves? Why are they doubling down on these totally bullshit fucking arguments over and over again? And that's the reason. It's because they want Naruto to seem more impressive than the big three. Who fucking cares? Who gives a single flying salty saltine cracker fuck about any of this? Everybody is allowed to enjoy their own universes. Your universe doesn't have to be better or stronger or cooler than anybody else's. There's plenty of room for all of us to just enjoy the shit that we enjoy. And this is what it comes down to, though. This is like my best guess as to why people do this is because they want to get people fighting about, you know, which character from which verse is better or worse than a character from another verse, and they want to like they want to either assert that their universe is better, or they just want to get people fighting about it to generate views. That's like genuinely the best explanation I come up with for all this, for these kinds of videos. I think it'd actually be insulting for me to suggest that people like Winner over here actually believe that what they're saying is true, because it requires such a disconnect from reality and from what's happening in the stories. It would be like offensive for me to say, like, I think you actually believe this. And when we get to the end of the video and it's revealed, like, oh yeah, this was just about putting Naruto over the other verses, he's the strongest in the big three, who fucking cares? That has nothing to do with the actual scaling itself, but it kind of reveals the perspective here. I think I got time for one more. I'm gonna cut myself off at 3.5 hours. Let me see if I can do one more real quick. Saria says, I wonder if you can turn Baryon mode off. I don't think so. I think the whole point is that, like, once it's activated, it's kind of like, that's it. It's the end game, right? Like, he does it in the fight, but, sorry. He's setting off a chain reaction, and once that starts, it's not going to stop. But I would have to research it more. Like, he does it in the fight, but if Ishiki left and ran away, could Naruto turn off? I don't think so. I think it's like a full-on commitment thing, but I'm not sure. I honestly don't know. It's a good question. No, John Kurama would clearly fly into orbit and fire down a sparking purple beam, drilling down to the plate. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to mislead you, but you're right. That was the secret I was hiding from y'all. But you saw right through my farce. You turned on your Sharingan and you were able to see through my lies. Well done in spotting the deception there, Mr. Magog. Or Lord Magog, I'm sorry. So, yeah, I mean, I think, here's the thing. Let's just scroll through here, right? I don't want to spend too much time, going through and, like, debunking TG's video or whatever. Same thing with 6, but, like, here's another good example. Like, notice how 6's video starts off without even saying anything about the video or the contents or the quality of it itself. It starts off with him portraying Naruto as an Ichigo slayer. Who the fuck cares? I don't care about who the fuck Ichigo. I don't even know who Ichigo is. I mean, I do because I've read like 5 chapters of Bleach. Ichigo doesn't matter at all to Naruto scaling. You know, again, like, watch the video yourself, come to your own conclusions. But you're kind of setting up the whole premise of the video as being part of just creating this dispute with another universe or whatever. This video is one of the worst videos on the platform. This video fucking sucks. Of course, because it's by this fucking individual over here. But, you know, the tactics used in this video are incredibly deceptive and dishonest. But it's the same shit. It's the same exact arguments. And basically, the only thing that's different about this video is that Seth and his best friend Noodles over here in this video, they do add a couple of points that are kind of interesting. One, he brings up the point that, like, if you disagree with him, you are requiring too much of a standard of evidence. I'm not going to encourage anybody to watch this because I don't want this motherfucker to have a single click from any of y'all. But if you feel like doing it anyway, give it a listen, because if you get to a certain point, he does say, hey, people are just, like, if you disagree with us, if you don't think Naruto's universal, it's because you need too much evidence, man. You require too much specificity. This, I think his phrase used in one of his live streams was skeptical cunt. If you don't agree with me, you're a skeptical cunt who needs too much information, and you need too much specificity. You need to just relax, man. So the coping strategy on display by these two chuckle fucks over here is basically like, yeah, just believe us, because if you don't, then you're being too skeptical. The other thing that he and Noodles keep repeating is that since the Otsutsuki they want to be like Shibai and they want to ascend to be universal, then it makes sense that they are universal. I'm not making that up. That's how fucking stupid the video is. They're like, well, they all want to be like Shibai, and Shibai transcended, so it wouldn't make sense for them to not be universal since their goal is to be universal. What a crock of shit. Fuck that video. Like, seriously. I think so. We talked about this one. I think this was another one that I wanted to talk about, and you can actually kind of see like some of the same mistakes here. So let's jump into this. Yeah, I don't think I got around to responding to this one yet. Let's take a quick look at it because I think it ran into some of the same issues. This might be the last one we do. This is by Frizzolante, so check out his channel, give him a like and a subscribe, watch the video in context, all those same basic all those basic premises. Looks like this is probably going to be an AI video, but whatever, let's give it a shot. Right?
Naruto's AP is highly debated in the anime community, with some people putting him at planetary, star, or solar most of the time.
I don't really want to listen to the AI voice, sorry. Points for showing universe level, let's just see what sort of stuff comes up, right? Points for referring to the tiering system.
Time continuum. For a dimension to be considered a space.
Okay, we're not going to go through everything, but let's just see, okay?
Fuck. First off, the figurative meaning of Sumugu is...
Okay, well, we do have this discussion of Tsumugu, which is interesting. The description of Kaguya weaving together her dimensions is fine, I guess. But again, like the inclusion of the Tsumugu kanji is useful. But again, uncredited databook source, uncredited translation. I guess this is just a ChatGPT or Google translation. Another databook, like unsubstantiated databook source here. This thing over here about the planet being planetary, whatever.
Of the 10 tails, and this is his chakra compared to the rest of the planet at just the second stage without...
Okay, yeah, we've talked about that previously, right? So some of the same things. Okay, Google Translate is not like super reliable. It's terrible. The sky is distorted. It was clear that it was not a space of this world. Translation is kind of sketchy. That grammar semantically doesn't really line up, but they're using the same translation. This is interesting. This is yet another version of the translation, which again, not credited as usual. But let's read this. This is the same like Momoshiki novel translation thing. Naruto was in time. I don't think it was that far from Hidden Leaf Village, but it was more of a different world than an unfamiliar place. It's terrible. The sky is distorted. It was clear that it was not a space of this world. About half of it was second-handed from the settings of the game my son was playing. Capital It shouldn't have deviated too much from reality. I can't move. Physically restrained. I could see right away that he was being relied on by the pillars. I mean, like, come on, man. Is this really the evidence you're going to use? The thing is, this is not the only person I've seen use this translation. I think this is literally just like scanning the picture with your phone and plugging the text into like Google Translate, which is just a really bad way of trying to get this stuff across, right? Yeah, here we go. I think that's pretty much it for this video. This is as far as I got, so I won't really spend too much more time on it. Okay, we're just constantly referring back to that same thing. Anything else interesting here? This scan comes up again. Oh, this time these phrases over here are circled in red instead of orange. It is interesting. Okay, I want to see what he says about the world here because that other person used the translation that said universe. Let's see what he says.
Dimensions to be universes, and all put together leaves no room for doubt.
No room for doubt, my fucking fat Aunt Sally.
Another place where Kaguya's dimension is stated to be a universe is in the databook, where her...
Well, it says world, but okay.
Her ETSO is stated to reshape the world, but the ETSO is gonna destroy and recreate her entire space, including the sun, which surpasses just the planet. So what is...
Well, I mean, sure, if you scale it.
Meant by Sakai here is universe. On top of being a universe...
Okay, again, like, it's the same argument, it's just here, it's being, like, delivered to us by a robot, and it doesn't actually have context or explanation for why that is being done. This whole video might just be AI generated, honestly.
Also
okay, so like, yep, this same scan again. It's the same exact uncredited, translated scan. I'm curious what this is. Takoboto, parallel universe. Okay, this is like isekai, right? Yeah, isekai, parallel universe in a or different dimension world. I like that he's showing like multiple different versions of the translations. That's fine. Okay, I'm curious about this for sure.
Amplification ability. Let's address another point. Madara states that Susanoo has enough power to destroy the universe. There's no evidence this is a hyperbole, and Madara
Oh my fucking god.
bluffing about his power to people he considers children is illogical.
Okay, I mean, like, do I really need to explain, like, why this is a problem? There's no evidence that it's a hyperbole. Okay, go ahead and prove that there is no evidence that it's a hyperbole. And then when you're done with that, you can go establish that it's actually true. Yeah, that's a good point, Magog. I think you're probably correct in that this is AI generated, but I think it's still interesting in, like, glancing at, because if it's AI generated, then that AI generated content is coming from, like, an amalgamation of community content, right? So this is I think you did say universe. That is the Viz translation that I remember seeing. Smash all things in this universe, right? But, like, who knows what he said in the original Japanese? I don't know that off the top of my head, but this is the official Viz translation as far as I can recall. But yeah, if it's an AI generated thing, then it's going to be like an amalgamation of community, like, meta arguments. So this is, like, I guess, kind of low effort in terms of whoever made the video, but it's still useful in terms of understanding, like, where the community's at.
So people assume it's a hyperbole or it means any.
Okay, I guess, like, I don't really want to get into this stuff here. We could go over this, I guess. I like the fact that he's actually showing, like, multiple different potential things here. This is something that not everybody does. Different definitions and stuff, right? But since we only have a few minutes left, I just want to kind of quickly scan through some other videos and see what the meta is, like more meta arguments here. So TG's video, I fuck with TG. He's a nice dude, and I'm not, again, trying to bother him or anything. But when I went through this video, 1 second, I gotta sneeze. Sorry about that. When I went through this video, it's kind of the same sort of arguments again and again, right? So here we have at least, like, shout out to TG for at least actually, like, showing a breakdown of the kanji. I think this is the one where I was like, yeah, I forget if this is the one where I said, oh yeah. So this is the one where I complained about, like, not making citations for translations, and this is the one where somebody wrote to me personally and said, hey, I think it was Hobbs. Oh, thank you. Sorry. I think it was Hobbs who wrote to me and said, like, hey, I did this, and it's okay. Like, I gave him my permission to do this or something like that. And I think maybe TG even responded and said, oh yeah, so asking Hobbs and Ood for their perspective, they helped me articulate some of this stuff a lot better. So yeah. So he kind of gives a great friendly response that I really appreciated. So shout out to TG. This is, like, probably, I mean, like, I don't necessarily agree with everything that we went back and forth about, but I will say that this is, like, one of the very, very, very few and like, friendly and honest feeling and, like, genuine interactions I've had with anybody about this topic. And this video, I think, is probably one of the few that I would recommend, in that, like, TG is very clear that what he's doing is that he was, like, commissioned to make this video as a summary of the arguments that are available, as opposed to pushing the agenda himself. And if you go through this video, he actually does a good job of summarizing them all. There is some stuff here that we don't see in other sources. It's all presented very well. It's edited very well. And I think if you're gonna make a Universal Naruto video, this is the quality bar to match. You don't have to be as good an editor as TG is, or have the same level of visual flair, which is on point. But this is what we should be doing. I mean, it's even better. I forget if he actually mentioned specifically where this comes from, but, like, this is the level we should try to get closer to. Show the English, show the Japanese, break down the kanji, and then have somebody who's qualified to actually explain what it means. This is closer to where we need to be, okay? I understand it's more effort, it's harder, but still. That being said, I still found in this video, okay, so see, this is something that came up in Key's video. So TG actually, thank you, sir, if you wind up seeing this, thank you for actually mentioning where the fuck this comes from, because other people will just throw this shit up there and be like, what's his name? Fucking Key said this is from the Ninja Dictionary, but he didn't provide a real translation. He didn't provide the breakdown in the source, and he didn't you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna I'm gonna join this channel at this point. Oh wait, actually, should I? I don't know if I should be showing this on stream if it's gonna show the little pop up. 1 second. Gotta make sure I'm not doxing myself. I might have to blur this out. Okay, it looks like I'm good. Oh shit. Yeah, okay, I might need to go back and blur that out in a second. No. But yeah, should be fine. I'll just just change my credit card number, I guess. But yeah, like, see, I'll support this. I'll throw my money at this because even though I disagree with like his overall conclusions, this is the level of shit like where we need to be. You know what I mean? Like, this is the level of research and representation that we should be at. And so, like, again, I don't expect that everybody who makes this content is going to have the same level of editing panache and skill and stuff. And there's shit that I find really obnoxious about like parts of this video, namely, again, like, this is the same thing that Key brought up, like the use of the term parallel universe to describe Road to Ninja. Road to Ninja is so like egregiously non-canon that it's like not even really worth talking about. And I think he does wind up kind of using some of the same like problematic issues with like references to things that I disagree with. But even so, like, shout out to him for actually showing these scenes that are a little tricky to find. I don't think his explanation of what a fucking what space curvature is and how it actually like literally works in this context, I don't think it's fully complete, but it's been a while since I've seen this video. But even so, like, good job collecting this and showing it in this place. Like, this is good work overall. So maybe I'll just leave it and like this, right? Like, this is good. This is a really good breakdown of what this is. I think this is Hobbes's translation, right? But like, he put in a lot of effort. He gathered everything together in a way that feels honest and complete and is much closer to getting us to the point where we'll be able to actually make decisions for ourselves. He was clear about his intentions. He doesn't, to my recollection, he doesn't actually get into this whole like, and this is why my verse is better than yours bullshit. It's much more about just like giving you the information to make up your own mind. Now I have to go back and like, I hope I don't wind up eating my words here. I'm going to go back and watch this again later on this week because it's been a while, but that's my memory of it. And like, if you're gonna like, you know, present these kinds of arguments to people, this is the way to do it. So shout out to Chi-Chi. I think that, oh my god, I had to hear his fucking voice. I think that probably Sawsky. Fuck me. I just got that shit out of my neurons and now it's back. But I think, you know, that probably that's the best way to do it. And like, if you can get yourself up to TG's level of quality, then you're doing good for yourself. If you can get away from people like Key and move closer to TG in terms of overall presentation, you're probably doing pretty good for yourself. I wanna leave, like, I'm sorry, Virtue, like, I'm not trying to be rude to Virtue. I do want to leave with one thing just because of like our Tsukiyomi saga here.
Tin Tail's sense in terms of Jinchuriki, right?
1 second.
Would Naruto instantly be able to utilize a lava Rasen Shuriken and a magnet-style Rasengan? Devil 4 describes this variant as one with greatly enhanced suction power.
I'm just speeding through here real quick.
Implying that with this, it becomes more fearsome, even in comparison to a typical Rasengan, which shouldn't sound surprising, seeing as Sasuke states, I have 6 paths too, adding it to his Chidori, where this is seemingly a matching technique to such whenever they hit Madara, implying that...
Actually, you know what? No, I feel... I want to end this on a positive note. So, I will say that somewhere in this video, Virtue has a very creative way of saying Tsukuyomi, which might actually, like, compete with Noodles. But honestly, for me to be focusing on that and like the only thing for his like extremely lengthy, detailed, well-made video, for me to just point that out to make fun of it, that's really shitty of me. So I apologize. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna say that like, this is a well-made video, but I think it does have some of the same problems overall. It like makes some of the same mistakes, so it's worth just like scanning through this if you're curious to learn more about the topic. But, you know, shout out to Virtue for his editing chops and stuff like that. I disagree with his conclusions, but, you know, the video is very, very pretty, very well made. It's an hour-long video. There's a lot of stuff that you can learn here. So, you know, that's fine as well. I think I'd rather just end it on this positive note by saying that, like, yeah, TG, props for being affable, for being friendly, for continuing to, like, engage with people in apparently good faith, for doing a lot of work in terms of like putting in all this research and effort, for being transparent about your intentions. You took a commission from somebody for dollary dues, for money, and you actually rendered a service that felt genuine and thorough and detailed, and it felt like you respected the amount of financial investment in the product that you were delivering to another person. So I think that honestly is exceptional and a rarity in this community that there needs to be more of that. So good job. And with that being said, I'm going to wrap things up. I think I basically said everything I wanted to about Universal Naruto. I think there are other videos that we could go over, but really the thing that I kind of wanted to establish is that, like, yeah, you start to see the same things over and over again. You start to see the same persistent issues, and really I don't have that much of a problem with any one person making a mistake here or there, misinterpreting something, or happening to ingest a bad piece of information and then repeat it. The problem that I have is with the lack of curiosity, the lack of follow through, the lack of honesty and straightforwardness in representing things, the lack of context for like literally anything, the lack of crediting people's sources, the lack of just being forthcoming with information, the low-key gaslighting and like hostile passive-aggressive language towards other people that might disagree with you, all of that stuff being used in service of this petty vindictive bullshit, you know, sort of like cross-verse feud nonsense that is completely out of place and does nothing to actually enhance anybody's understanding of anything. It just adds fuel to the fire. That's the shit that I object to. So I hope that, like, if you've watched any of this content, that you've learned something. That's ultimately the purpose of all this, is to like learn and connect. I hope if you are somebody whose video I have critiqued in the past, and I have been harsh, I hope you'll understand that 99% of the time, for 99% of the people, like excluding I guess like Noodles and Seth, even then, like, you know, if Noodles turned around and he was like, hey, like, let's bury the hatchet or whatever, I would probably be open to that, I guess, and be like I guess what I'm trying to say is like, that felt weird to I don't I actually don't think I would be, based on everything that happened. But let me not make it personal. What I'm trying to say is that, like, if I have offered any kind of feedback to anybody and you're seeing this, please understand that it is in the spirit of peer review, in the spirit of helping you to learn and understand and grow. And yes, even Noodles and even Seth, like, when I leave a comment on your video, if I'm taking the time to actually listen to what you say and offer a thoughtful, I might not be right about everything, I might not be right about anything, but if I'm taking the time to spend this amount of time responding to something you did, it's because on some level I respect the effort and think that it's worth responding to. So don't take it as a personal attack. Don't take it as slander, even if I get harsh. Just take it as a potential source of feedback that hopefully you can use to learn something. As arrogant as that might sound, as to learn something and to improve your shit, that is what I'm hoping to achieve with this, and that is what I would ask for other people to do for me as well. Maybe if we all do that for each other, we can get better and learn more and move past the sort of petty misunderstandings. That being said, I think I've covered pretty much every argument I could find on the subject. I've made my point, my perspective pretty clear, and I'm happy to continue talking about it if anybody wants to, but I think I've kind of made my peace with it, and you know, at this point I'm kind of ready to move on to another topic. So let me know what you guys think. I'm gonna catch up on chat real quick, but yeah, as always, I really appreciate the discussion and the back and forth. And you know, I've been spicier over the past couple streams because I'm kind of like getting to the end of my rope with this, not even like the misunderstandings, that's fine, not even with the misinterpretations, that's fine, but just with like the general chicanery when it comes to like chopping up and spitting out content for people, and the tactics associated with that. I'm just very disappointed and very disillusioned with certain things, and I needed an opportunity to get that off my chest, and now I can kind of move on. So let's see. Fucking Darth Magog says, I hate that there are agendas in a fandom about Magic Orange tracksuit and Ninja Wizards. Like, what are we doing? Yeah, absolutely. It's bizarre. It's creepy. It's weird. I'm not really here for it. But yeah, I'm right there with you, bro. Saria says, One Piece agenda skin is so funny, though. Give me the gag fruit, then drown me. Yeah, that's pretty pretty on point. I don't get it, man. Like, I do, like, if I were in middle school still, I would get it because I remember, you would come into, I don't know if you guys had this experience, but like, I remember what it was like to be a fan of like, there's comic I read in, or like pick whatever thing you want. Like I used to read in Italian it was called Dragon Die, or Die the Great Adventure or something like that. And I liked that universe and I liked the characters in that, and I would kind of try and bring it up to people in class or even like share. Like Ranma has some cool martial arts feats and stuff in that series, and I would try to share it with people and be like, hey, look at how cool this is that Ranma's doing this in this episode. Look at how cool that like Cyborg Kuro-chan is doing this in this particular episode, or whatever. And they would be like, yeah, well, Goku could like fucking destroy every atom in his bottom, bottom. Yikes, Freudian slip there. Every atom in his body by just like batting an eyelash. So therefore you are gay and dumb and go away from me. And like, it feels really bad. It really does feel shitty to be treated like that. But that's not Kishimoto's fault. It's not the fault of the manga itself. And I feel like, if people are gonna treat you like that, just go away from them. Like, leave them alone. Who cares? They're not, you don't need to, like, you're not going to gain anything by like trying to convince. Yeah, I'm sure somebody's going to clip that, every single atom in his ass. Yep, great. That's career ending Freudian slip right there. But yeah, so tonight I've accomplished showing my credit card on stream, talking about every atom inside a cat's ass, and yelling at people over grudges from 2 years ago. So I think this is a perfect place to end this topic. I'm gonna try to actually end it on the 3:33:33 mark, because that would just be funny to me. Although of course I'm gonna have to blur out that one section, so it's gonna throw everything off. But anyway, we should talk about the hive mind of the power community, that the power scaling community one of these days. That sounds amazing. I'd be more than happy to. In the meantime, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful week. I'll be back on Thursday for more Claire Obscure. I'm going to try to hit this right on the 33-minute mark. Let's see if it works. Have a great night. Take care.